Go Pizza presents SDP, the Steve Dangle Podcast, with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go!
Adam.
Oh, we can talk now? Oh, hey, welcome to the show!
Yeah!
Jesse was up adjusting cameras. We weren't sure if we could start yet, but now we can start.
You can start anytime you
Steve's
want.
drinking coffee and water.
Yeah!
And really, water's just bean water. Coffee's just bean water.
Yeah!
Just drinking your bean water.
Damn, boy. Sorry,
We've been watching that TikTok all that. Damn, boy!
Damn,
That's a big ass boy! Yo, if you're not on TikTok yet, I don't know what
It's
to tell
changed
you.
my life.
You guys sound so old.
I know.
I don't care.
I know. I had it a year ago.
Hey, like 2 years after it got popular.
I know.
You guys heard of TikTok?
Heard of TikTok?
Yo, okay, so here's the worst part, is I had TikTok a year ago, and I didn't even pay attention to it, and I registered my name, but now I can't remember my login, so I had to start another login.
They don't have forgot my password?
No, because I don't even know what email. I have several emails that
now
I
you
use.
sound old, yeah.
Anyway, I'm an idiot.
Oh,
So Adam Wild Vids is my name now
Hey,
because
I'll
I'm
unfollow
an
your
idiot.
Poo account.
Well, no, I don't think
follow-
the Poo account exists. I think they took it down. I'm upset.
I was your first follower ever,
Wow.
so I think I deserve credit for that.
I followed both
I
of you.
deserve the crown.
You know what?
Jesse's
All
living
good streaks
generously.
come to an end. You had a good run, Willie, but you lost to a worthy opponent. Jesse M.
Thank
Blake.
you. Thank
What's your middle name?
you. Jude.
Is it?
Yes,
Doesn't he have the
yes.
coolest
Hey, Jude.
name?
Jesse Jude Blake?
Yes, yes.
That's unfair.
What do you
I
mean?
got Paul.
Oh,
Stupid.
Well, it's one of the
good
it's one of the-
Christian boy.
Yeah, it's one of the saints.
It's awful. Who
Well,
cares about Paul?
You
Listen,
got your Catholic showing.
Yeah, the fact that he only has one.
Also, I feel guilty at all times.
Being half Italian, the fact that you only have one middle name is a shock.
That is true.
I mean, when you think about the
There's not
backpack
enough.
full of weights of middle names that Italians have
Yeah.
to carry.
Not enough bibbity bobbity in my name.
No, there isn't. And Paulo, it's not. It's Paul. It's not Paulo. Something like that.
Paolo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have been named after one of my uncles.
You have
Yeah,
an Uncle
is-
Paulo?
No, I have a Leonardo, a Rocco, a Domenico. My
Domenico's
was
a great name.
Raphael.
Isn't every Italian boy named after an uncle?
A Ninja Turtle.
Isn't
We were all
Yeah.
named after Ninja Turtles, and then that generation was named after them. Right, and then
After
passed down.
somebody's
Right.
uncle.
That's how
Yes.
it goes.
Yes.
And now everyone from Woodbridge is named Massimo or Gianluca. And that's how it works.
What kind of car do they drive?
Oh, something that they fucked with, modified a bunch.
Is there a flag on the front?
Oh my God, there's one on either side, Jesse.
You got- hey, hold
And
on.
the mirror.
What happens during the World Cup, though?
It's like Leafs on the driver's side, Juventus on the right, and that's it.
And the Italian flag over the front of the hood,
Oh, yeah.
right?
my
That's
God, and a couple pricks with a Lazio flag.
Yeah, what's
No
that
one
about?
cares.
What is
Shut
that?
up.
What's the Lazio flag about anyway?
I don't know.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I owned FIFA 2001. That was my last one.
I,
Filippo Inzaghi flying down the pitch. I was great.
I had a Juventus jersey growing up, so they're my Italian league team.
Oh.
I had an Alessandro Del Piero.
Ah, there's another Italian name.
I like
Yeah.
PSG. I'm a PSG guy.
Yeah,
That's Paris.
Paul
That's
St. George.
That's the French league.
Yeah,
whatever.
I'm a big fan.
They own.
Pierre
they-
Saint Germain. Is that it?
I think they're owned
I don't think you're
by
saying that
some
right.
oil. They're owned by some like oil barons, and they just can buy anything they want. So it's just them and everybody else.
Like SKA St. Petersburg.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding.
Wow.
Well, welcome to the show.
Well, that's it
Marc,
for the show.
Marc Spector will be on in about half an hour.
To talk about how the Oilers suck.
Well,
And
that
that's
is-
it. We're going to introduce him as reporter on the worst team. No.
Okay.
Hey, a reporter
He'd
from
be
the
like-
worst.
Hey, garbage.
Yeah, he'd be like, "Hey, can we not be weird about this?"
Sorry.
And I'm also never coming back on.
Yeah.
I sabotage every show. It's my curse.
No, we are going to talk to him about his new book.
Yes. It's about the Canadians at the World Juniors and how they're good at it.
And thick boys.
And damn, boy. It's about thick boys, yes.
Yeah, it is. Is it going to talk about the collapse though?
Of the Edmonton Oilers? Well, they won their
No,
last
the
game.
collapse of the team Canada when they let in a pile of goals and
Well,
It was more than 4-1.
They only lose the gold medal game in traumatic fashion.
It has to be spectacular.
Yeah,
They
the
can't just
Fleury-
lose.
No.
The Fleury one, the John Carlson one. Then they almost choked on a 6-1 lead or something like that against Russia.
They can't just park the car. The car must explode in the background, too.
No, I was at the game where they blew the 3-0 lead in the third. I was sitting right behind Zach Hassian's family. They were happy, and then they were sad. Ooh. Yeah, it wasn't
What
good.
happened last year where they didn't even, they finished in like 6th or something crazy?
I can't remember.
I don't
Or
remember
was
them
it
being a
4?
particularly skilled team. Like, I don't think it was... I don't think they had a Lafreniere that they're going to have this year.
My super unpopular opinion is, like, that's fine. Like, Canada wins and is in competition so often that it's okay if, like, a Denmark squeaks in or a Belarus or... Like, isn't like Britain in, not this year, but the next or something like that? And I don't care.
I think
Finland
I
is,
want there to
in
be
the
extra. I mean,
five.
obviously, I want Canada to win all the time, but also,
course.
as we've seen, it creates issues when only Canada and the United States win. Well, like in women's hockey, they could almost consider taking out of the Olympics because it was just those two. Didn't they? Wasn't there talk of that or something?
I want to say basketball, too, for a while.
Yeah, it was just like so. It's nice to have some. It is nice to have some variety. Always want Canada to win, but like it'd be nice if they had to play someone different every time in
Last
the game.
year they lost in the quarterfinals to Finland.
Right,
Yeah.
and
Who
Finland
ended
was
up
a good
going
team.
on to win the championship.
Yeah,
World
losing in the
Juniors.
quarterfinals? Crap. Losing to the eventual winners? Pretty good.
Yeah.
It's Finland.
Sure.
They're legit.
You don't want to lose in the quarterfinals when you're Canada. That's all I'm saying.
That's 100% true.
Yeah. It's like the USA this past summer in the World Championships. They lost in. They think they had a 6th place finish, 6th or 5th
In hockey?
In basketball.
In basketball.
Yeah, so it's equivalency.
Unacceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
but
did.
didn't, like, who was their best player?
Like half the Celtics went, which was fun. But yeah, They,
And no one else?
They're a
Canada-
roster with NBA players. You shouldn't be losing.
Yeah,
Right.
Canada couldn't get people out. That was a problem. Yeah,
God,
Canada had
a struggle.
No, they had like 2 people I went to high school with, and like wasn't good.
just a couple of guys from the court down the street. They do have some real NBA players coming to this year's what is it? Not the Olympics.
Well, the Olympics.
It's
yeah.
the Olympics.
Well,
yeah,
they have to qualify again because they didn't.
qualify last year.
Yeah,
good.
they
It
qualified,
It won't be just Kelly Olynyk and a bunch of guys. It'll be like
Right.
R.J. Barrett, and I think they're saying that Andrew Wiggins might commit, which would be good.
Hair Canada and Hair Canada and Hair Canada, and that's it.
That's it. Hey, let's get into who wore the crown. If you live generously, life will treat you royally. Kind of like what Jesse did with his follow on TikTok, which became
Yes.
my first. Why not pour yourself in front of Crown Royal?
Not
Because we're going to get into who wore the crown. Because it's our town, it's our crown. And let's crown a leaf that lives generously by giving it all for the team. Brought to you by our friends at Crown Royal. Live generously, life treats you royally. Let's get into it, Steve Dangle.
Auston Matthews, pretty easy. Guy scored 2 goals. One of them was effing disgusting, and the other one was also very, very good because it's Auston Matthews. Not enough praise is given when the guy just rips it and it goes in. You always got to wow him with a couple moves.
He
but
did wow him with a couple moves, though.
It's hard to beat an NHL goalie with a wrist shot.
Yeah.
You know
I mean,
what I
what
mean?
Jack Eichel did to Freddie Anderson.
Jack Eichel's shot was dirty.
Outrageous.
Oh, gosh.
You know how we've talked about, like, it's nice to get an occasional save? Mm-hmm. No, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
No, that was very, very good.
I think
But
people still say, Freddie could have had better body positioning on that, but I don't know if there's a more perfect shot taken. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you could take a more perfect shot than what Jack Eichel did.
No, you really couldn't. It was right into top ched, but as the Russians say, right in the spider's web.
Is
that what they call it?
That's
What is it?
What is it?
Like right into the spider's web. That's I don't know what the translation is. It's much cooler
Because of
than
the
they say it.
netting.
Yeah.
And then their spiders are always up, right? They're never down.
I didn't put that together. That was just a net.
They
Me neither.
Oh, look at
they
that.
get eaten if they were down, so they go up.
Adam read that on a podcast. That's how that works.
I don't know. And he did
Maybe
that
catch
the little
flies, too.
thing where he shot off foot, like he was on his right foot instead of his left foot. A little
gross.
trick there.
Yeah, he's gross.
Eichel's just nasty.
Fred Foot, haha.
But enough about less good Auston Matthews. Let's talk about Auston Matthews, who scored 2 goals instead of 1. Did you know that 2 is better than 1? It
did.
is. And in a game that the Leafs had to win because of playoff implications, in a game where if you're making a poster for that game, you're putting Eichel on one side and Matthews on the other.
Yeah.
You're expecting them to go head-to-head.
Because
and
they're
Matthews came in on
Americans,
top.
they're centers, they were drafted a year after each other. There's a million reasons.
And they're always going to be linked for their entire careers.
Yep.
Matthews is going to be linked to Eichel. He's going to be loosely linked to McDavid for God knows what reason. And he's going to be linked to Eichel. Yeah. So I give him the ground for being friggin' who he is.
All right.
An amazing hockey player. Nope, we don't do Plur anymore.
We do not do Plur. Plur's gone. Goodbye, Plur. I'm going to give it to Ilya Mikheyev. And I want to tell you why. I want to tell you why. Not just because he had a great game last night. But as you know, I have to go to bed pretty early, as does Jesse. And what you end up doing is, like with ice surfing, like I did this morning, I had both feeds going as I was getting ready to go to work.
Which one was on the big screen?
Oh, ice surfing, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah, I Chromecasted that. And then had
Did you see the RA interview?
Yes, I did actually.
All right,
I did
Dickie.
see the Rear Admiral interview from
Spit and Chicklets?
He seemed like, man, what a positive guy.
Positive and legitimately drunk.
You think he was drunk?
What?
He said he was drunk.
Oh.
Right off the top. He's like, I'm not on heroin, I promise. And then he shows his teeth. He's like, his red wine. I've been drinking with, it was like Joffrey Lupul and Sean Avery all day.
way.
And he was trying to tell, apparently there's like a Paul Bissonnette story about someone named Shitty Cindy. And so he starts the story with, Shitty Cindy story. He corrected Shitty by saying Shitty again. And he also dropped a couple fuckins, which was a first for ice surfing. But
Whatever. It's
we're
not on broadcast,
regulated
doesn't
by
matter.
the CRTC.
Yeah, you
because
guys are
we're
on the
Twitter.
internet, so you can just swear.
Ha ha!
So Jeff
Fuck
Narek
and
could be
such.
like, what the fuck is up, people? Welcome to ice
Can you
surfing.
imagine? Listen to 31 fucking thoughts.
Sports fucking net.
This is mere days after I met someone at book signing, and they said I was a good role model for their kid.
Hey, that's okay. Listen, it doesn't make you
sorry.
a bad role model because you swear.
Well, actually, I said sorry for all the swearing, and she goes, I'm Irish.
That's what I'm saying.
I liked it.
Right? And the Irish create beauties. So, no, I think I give mine to Ilya Mikheyev, and the reason is that I fell asleep after the first period because I have to. I have to put myself to sleep, and I woke up, and I'm currently sleeping in my basement right now, but that's a completely different story. I woke up with the TV still on.
We haven't talked about that on this podcast.
No, we have not talked about that.
But
We haven't
Adam's
talked about-
sleeping in his
I'm
basement
sleeping in my
because he's doing
basement.
renovations upstairs.
Yeah,
Sounds
So-
fun.
and it's actually not bad. It's pretty cool. I have like a little cool like loft apartment going on, and I've got a microwave and a coffee machine set up. It's great.
And no wife or baby.
Yeah, that's also awesome.
So when they
Sleep-
come back, that shit's going to suck.
Oh no, it'll be done.
Oh, what?
It'll be done. Yeah, they're not back till like mid-Jan, so it'll be a while.
Oh,
Yeah.
the renovators.
No, the renovators are going to finish by the time my wife and
Your
baby
wife
are
and
back.
baby are staying in
Yeah.
Florida, so
My wife is
Virginia.
freelance, so she's going to stay for a month with my parents, who have a place down there.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know she was gone that long.
Yeah, I know. She's gone for a month.
Oh, dude, that's
Yeah.
wicked.
Well, it's perfect. And I said, please stay down there because we're getting renos done, and this would be bad to have around a baby.
And also, I want to be Red Dead Redemption too.
Yeah, that too. No,
But
but
also, I can't stand up in his basement. So,
but I can.
My God, that's true. I can barely stand up in his basement.
Listen, I'm not
That's
inviting
funny.
people
I don't
over.
know
I'm
how
just
you're
enjoying
living.
it. Oh, I'm loving it. It's great. But anyway, I wake up with
do
3
you
minutes
cook
left to
on
go.
a hot plate?
No, a microwave, man. Get the microwave. That's all I need.
Cook.
You're living in a dorm.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
If you must know,
This is more interesting.
if you must
You
know,
stressed about exams, bro?
Is there a tie on the door?
no. If you
Meet
must
you in
know,
study hall?
I food prepped the entire week before the kitchen was ripped out. So full disclosure, my kitchen had some pretty
Rats.
serious water issues.
I made that up.
And at one point did have rats.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
We found that
Toronto.
out after as we opened up the fridge and found, or not fridge, opened up the, pulled it all up and found turds all over the floor. And it hadn't been done, I want to say, like we found a calendar behind our cabinets was from 1986. So that means it fell back there in 1986. That means that the kitchen was already done. So
calendar
that
is
kitchen
2
is at
years
least
older
that
than
old.
you.
Yeah, that kitchen is, at least 35, 40 years old. So it was time. And anyway, so we were finding that it was falling apart and my dishwasher was detaching from its spot on the thing. And we realized that when we pulled it out, there was a previous water leak issue that didn't currently exist that rotted away the thing that keeps your countertop up. And so what happened was it rotted away and it sort of just sat there between the fridge and the microwave, and it was only held up by the fact that the two of them pushed together, not microwave, dishwasher, and it was falling out of its spot. Anyway,
And Ilya Mikheyev is going to come over and fix it?
Ilya
Is that how
Mikheyev
this
came
works?
over and we heated up soup in the microwave. No, what happened was I woke up so I food prepped anyway, and I've been leaving all my food at work. so I eat my food,
you-
and I bring it home.
I like this part of the story because now you understand how this man is living.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
squalor, utter squalor.
Well, yeah, because the
His house
basement's
is falling apart and covered in rat shit.
And he's living under it in a basement that he can't stand up in with his TV and dogs.
And
I
his
brought the
1986 calendar.
I brought the couch. So anyway, the dogs are good. But I woke up with 3 minutes to go. About 3 minutes, like 3:45, something like that.
And you
in the
looked at
game.
score
In the game,
and
yeah.
said, "What?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was 4-3 at this point, and I went, oh my God. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch this. And of course, Ilya Mikheyev does the thing that he did. And what blew me away about him was not just the intelligence of the play that he made. You know, they're down a man, net's empty, they've got an opportunity, like Buffalo's got an opportunity to get in tight. When you get in tight on the Leafs have a really hard time getting you away.
Buffalo figured that out after the first period. They
Yeah,
did a
once you
really
put the
bad
press
job
on
in
them
the
down
first.
low, the Leafs are pretty easy to push
Yeah.
around. But what he did was he kept his man high and he was aggressive enough to get in his face and make him screw up. And that's what the Leafs, I want to see them do that more because they have the speed to be able to force mistakes out of people. Sometimes you're going to get burned for it, but he was able to get position-wise in a spot where he could force a mistake and probably still be in position. And then the ability to chip the puck around a guy and beat him to it, given that guy had to turn around and skate. The fact is the defenseman, and I forget who it was for Buffalo, didn't have it. He didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
Makheyev's that fast. And you
McKayev-
don't
No, it was Darlene.
Oh, is it Dallas?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's even more impressive.
Yeah, like Mikheyev is extremely fast for such a big person. And you don't really get to see it all the time. You don't get to see you get to see their quickness, but you never get to see their straightaway speed. And watching that, it was like, wow, every stride he got, you could see it get further and further and further away.
It's surprising, man.
Yeah.
Kapanen, Mikheyev, and Engvall all do things that at first glance you go, no, why are you doing that? And it's because they have the confidence
And the speed.
and the speed.
Yeah.
They're fast and they know how fast they are.
Yes.
They do things that aren't necessarily smart. Like with Kapanen, they'll ice the puck all the time because he's going to win. He's going to win the race.
Yeah.
And that's what Mikheyev did.
Yeah, and by the way, total aside, I thought Kapanen looked pretty good alongside Matthews and Nylander.
He's the whipping boy right now.
On the 4-3 goal, the goal in Buffalo that made it the 3. Which goal was that?
The Okposo one.
Yeah,
yeah.
Kapanen gives up on that play, and he's lazily skating to the net while the puck's going there, and then Matthews drifts behind him.
Yeah, I
Like,
can't picture it. I was too rage blackout about friggin' Okposo, of course, after the Dermott hit getting that goal.
I saw that, and I just didn't like that play.
Oh, okay.
So
I'll take your word for it. I
That
don't
sticks in my memory because that leads to a goal. It's like,
Right.
you can make a million mistakes, but if they don't lead to goals, then they're okay mistakes.
Also, after Matthews' second goal, Kapanen looked like sad on the ice. Did you notice that?
Yeah, he wasn't jumping up and down.
There he is with his cool celly, and here I am lying down. Bullshit. Rejoice, Cappy, you're up. You're up.
So yeah,
3-0.
he's kind of been the Twitter whipping.
Yeah, he has, but you know what? I liked him. I liked him along that thing, but Mikheyev gets my crown. Jesse.
This crown is about living generously.
Actually, it's about life treating you royally, too. Let's not forget that.
Oh, yeah, life treating you royally.
Yeah.
Like when you score a goal, because someone had an amazing zone entry and was able to keep the puck on side and feed you the puck because he is so generous that all he gets is apples.
Such a Calgarian Swede.
Such a Calgarian Swede. My crown goes to William Nylander for his little play there at the blue line to keep the puck on side and feed it to Matthews because life's about living generously. And when you live generously, you feed other people the goals. So good for him.
I was surprised that he was able to get it across the line and onside. I was more surprised that he still had it.
That he kept control of the puck.
How did he pull that off?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then feeding Matthews, who just victimized Connor Sherry, poor guy. What are you going to do? I was talking about it in the video today. Like, how do you defend that? Because Sherry is preparing for Matthews to do what Matthews does, which is rip it between the defender's legs, and that's who Sherry was. He doesn't do that. He's frozen in complete flamingo mode. Allmark is literally falling backwards because he thought that too. He's a monster, man.
He is.
21 goals. It's not even Christmas.
And Allmark, who had an amazing game.
And allowed 4 goals.
Hey, hang on. Let me jump in for a second. That's who wore the crown for this week. Brought to you as always by Crown Royal. Next time the puck drops, why not live generously and treat your friends to a Crown Royal Old Fashioned. Okay, so with the Leafs, Linus Ullmark always does play a good game against the Leafs. I don't know what it is.
That first save was unbelievable. The one on Barry.
On Barry. Oh my God.
The face Barry made.
Yeah.
So
Tyson Barrie was second in all scoring chances last night to John Tavares.
Wow.
Really?
Tavares was another guy. He couldn't buy one.
No. And Mitch Marner was lucky to get an assist, but he seemed like a guy that if he keeps playing this way, he's gonna like blow people out. Like he's gonna blow up.
Who's this?
Marner.
Oh, Marner.
Marner and Tavares were on fire last night, and it was Linus Ullmark that kept saying, "No, not gonna be tonight. Not against me.
No.
Not against me." But I wondered about. There was a lot going into the game about Auston Matthews, and when he's good, and when he's bad, he's not. And it was funny because Jeff O'Neill's like, when he gives an A effort, it's an A+ game. When he doesn't, it's a Z. And it was like, whoa, holy! It was harsh, a bit harsh. And Jeff, rightly speaks in very quotable language, right?
Bad guy.
Yeah, like Jeff is you cannot help it. He's the kind of person that you walk into a room and who, if he's talking, everyone's listening. He just has that magnetism.
He speaks like a novel.
Yeah,
it's kind of like every sentence is kind of crafted. It's very interesting.
Even though it's just blurted out of his head, right?
Right.
Yeah, like you didn't think about it, but he's right, and it's funny that a guy with 21 goals. Yeah. Leaf fans can be, and Leafs media can be so hard on a guy with 21 goals before Christmas.
Here, let me
40 on pace for 49.
Is that what he's on pace for?
On pace for 49.
Damn, I was just about to do that.
Oh, that's what I know. I read it today. Yeah, on pace for 49 goals.
Like, think about that. And it's funny because if you have any superstar on any team, there are nights where they're just not as good. Like if you're an Edmonton fan and you watch the game against the Leafs,
David? Well, he almost had the 1 goal, but
yeah, he looked good.
Yeah, he looked good. Yeah. He didn't look best player in the world.
Sure.
So there are going to be games where guys are just not the best player that they are capable of being. Has Matthews been that too much, or are we just hyper-focusing on it?
Someone left a really good comment on my YouTube video today, which was...
That's right. Hey, you cuck.
It was, hey, you suck and your dogs are ugly. But
have
the one under that...
Have you ever gotten a comment like that? Have you actually ever gotten a comment like that?
No. I don't
know.
Do you remember when you did the video when your dogs were good dogs and made good picks?
Yeah.
And everybody ripped your dogs for picking the treats?
Out of only my right hand because they're stupid. And I should have done something more fair.
Everyone's like, these picks aren't right.
What's the point of this video if it's not fair?
They just picked from that hand.
Shut up. Where was I going? Oh, yeah, the comment. Matthews, so I was praising him, obviously, for having a really good game. And they said Matthews is an elite goal scorer, not an elite player. There is a difference. And I thought that was interesting, and my initial instinct was to go, and then I went, okay, fair. At times, fair. He is, you know what? For his age, like, what is he, 22? Like, to be 22 and already an elite goal scorer? All right. That's pretty good. Now we're working on the elite player thing. And, yeah, he's looked pedestrian at times. Yeah, he leaves something to be desired defensively
even on the power play where you're like, if you talk about Auston Matthews, like anybody looking from the outside looking in must be like, well, he probably scores a lot on the power play like goal scorers do. He had 12 last year. Yeah. Which is fine, but like out of 34 goals, it's great that he scores a ton 5-on-5. It's amazing. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But imagine he was able to do that and the power play.
It matters, man. The Bruins were...
I'm sorry.
What?
It doesn't matter that much.
No. The Bruins made it to the Stanley Cup final. You could argue they were the second best team in the NHL, right? But I think they were neck and neck. It was a group of about 8 teams, but the Bruins just had the best power play.
Yeah.
They killed you. They killed the Leafs. That was the deciding factor.
The Leafs made it easy on them, though. They've sent a guy with a knee and a half.
Well, there was that.
Who doesn't take faceoffs to take faceoffs.
No, that was the right idea. It was smart. Anyway, where I was going with that. But under Keefe, which, by the way, the Leafs are 8-4 under Sheldon Keefe. Is that good? It's good. I noticed more of an effort out of Matthews. I kept seeing people go, "What, can he throw a hit?" He is. If you don't think Matthews is trying to throw a hit, you're not watching. You got to watch him a little more closely. He's trying. And I noticed at the end of last year, it was all I could talk about, how Matthews is trying to be more physical. It's coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming.
But he's 22 years old.
And he was tasked with being a superstar immediately in his NHL career.
Yeah.
With a coach that he clearly hated.
I wonder what would happen if, Auston Matthews, the fully developed guy at 27, gets to play with the next Auston Matthews, but that guy's 18. And how much leeway that guy will get because Auston Matthews is already the fully developed star that the Leafs really didn't have up until Tavares. You know what I mean?
I just think of all the in-season improvements. Like, you're like Matthews at 27. I'm like, how about Matthews at like 22 and Tavares at 29? How about right now?
How about right now?
How about what's going on right now?
Well, and it does look good, and it's nice to have that Hyman-Marner Tavares line together again because they do seem like they're clicking. Mm-hmm. And with Matthews, I just feel like him and Nylander last year really didn't get a fair shake because Nylander just wasn't Nylander.
No, and that really, that wasn't good for Matthews' season either.
No, and he still scored 34 goals.
Yeah, in an off year because he's an elite goal scorer.
Yeah, and he missed what? He only played 60-something games?
Yeah. He missed like a month because of the Trouba hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, he's elite.
Yeah.
He's elite.
So are people being too hard on him, or is it impatience?
No. You ask for and receive $11.634 million. People have unrealistic expectations of you. I haven't heard people be over the moon about how good Panarin is because Panarin's making $11.6 million as well. You make $11.6 million. Shut up and score. If you have an elite night, that's breaking even.
I haven't heard anybody saying, except for total idiots online, I haven't heard anybody complain about the Matthews contract, though.
At times.
And Panarin, by the way, has 43 points already in 33 games.
Why isn't it 45? Why isn't it 50?
He's so freaking good. No, it's stupid.
But to have the season he's having, and I don't know, I never hear anyone talk about Panarin. The number one guy I hear talked about on the Rangers is Georgiev.
Yeah, well, that's because you're in Toronto. Because in Toronto,
and
Toronto fans want him.
But you feel like the Panarin season is just expected, so no one's freaking out about it.
Yep. You make $11 million.
It's only a story. It's only a story if he underperforms.
Right.
There can't be a story where you outperform that contract. It just doesn't happen.
Unless you're Connor McDavid, because he's kind of
but even then, no one references his contract. No one's like people will say, well, he's still a steal at 12.5, which. Fine. Okay. You can make whatever argument you want. I don't really need to debate that, but you rarely hear people just naturally bring it up. Whereas if you hear, when you talked about Zaitsev in this market, people be like, and he makes $4.5 million. Be like, sucks, and $4.5 million that could go to somebody good. Look at what Cody Ceci is. Again, another $4.5 million defenseman that people are like, oh. And I don't hear them saying that about Muzzin. People think he's got about market value. I definitely don't hear that about Morgan Riley. So what a flippin' steal that is.
Some people are harder on him.
On Morgan Riley?
He's had a tough season. IMO. IMHO.
Yeah, agreed. But it's never like he's underperformed his contract. Does that make sense?
Right. He's never been at least a $5 million player.
Right.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So I guess when you get to that level, it's just impossible to outperform your deal.
And McDavid, I don't know if you've noticed this, not on pace for 160 points anymore.
Oh, what a shame.
Him and Draisaitl.
Who knew that 25 minutes a night would slow them down?
Who would have thought having the best season since 1995 or something like that was unsustainable?
Since Mario Lemieux.
Yeah, like Lemieux and Yager. Oh, well. We'll ask Mark about it.
Yeah, I want to ask Mark about it, actually. Beyond that, the Leafs under Sheldon Keefe himself said he didn't think that the Leafs have become yet. They're in the next phase of it, but they've got another few steps to go before they become the team he truly envisions. And I wonder, for the first 30 minutes of last night's game, did we see a good chunk of what that's going to look like? Because until they let Buffalo back in the game, it sure looked pretty strong.
It's so different. The Leafs were playing from behind for so much of
the start of this year.
I mean,
17 of 21 games?
October and November. Yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah, not just the first period, though. Like second period, third period, final 5 minutes. Now it seems they are protecting a lead almost every single game. They've won 4 of their last 5, and the one that they lost, they had a lead heading into the third period. The reason we talked about it so much is, they blew it. So that to me that's the baby step. That to me, though, is them getting back to what they were. They were always the team that had the lead and had to defend it and struggled to do it. And what I'm interested to see is how Sheldon Keefe makes them a stronger shutdown team.
Maybe they just don't. Maybe the way you shut them down is you keep pressing.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
I just don't.
Right?
I think it's unfair to ask this team to defend.
It's the Marlies.
They're not. That's not what they're meant to do.
Anyone who watched them will tell you they were a carnival at times. And
Yeah,
they coughed up their fair share of big leads. And I remember a game a few years ago. Marlies were losing 8-4 in the third. Nylander scored the overtime winner, 9-8. Because the Miners.
but did they win?
They won.
And that's the thing. When you were asked what Mike Babcock was asking those players to do was things that they just were not capable of. He was trying to institute what he wanted in the last 10 minutes of the third period for the entire game. And I don't think it makes any sense to switch what you're good at for a 10-minute period of a game to try to defend something that you've already achieved.
And you notice
why wouldn't you just keep pressing them? Keep the puck.
Put Matthews out there for the Hattie. Mm-hmm. He's done that a couple times recently.
Because he hasn't had a Hattie since his first NHL game.
Yeah, get out there.
Well, he's technically never had a hat trick because you don't count 4 goals as a hat trick.
You don't? You don't count
the third goal is the hat trick goal. That's a hat trick.
No, he passed the hat trick.
No,
so it's
stop it.
Auston Matthews.
Stop it. You are
all
not
those people
gonna...
wasted their hats. Is that it, Jesse?
Here's a hill. I'm walking up. I'm walking up it, and do you hear that?
You've taken 2 strides right at the top.
I'm about to die on it.
All right, let's
Auston
do
Matthews scored 4 goals in his first game. That is not a hat trick. A hat trick is 3 goals, and then that's it.
What if you score 6?
You got 6.
That's 2 hat tricks.
You have to end the game with 3 goals.
No, Jesse. Okay.
That's how a hat trick
what
works.
a hat trick. No, what Auston Matthews did was he had a hat trick. Everybody threw their hats, and he came out for an encore. And that's...
Sure.
So that doesn't make...
No,
it doesn't negate the initial hat trick.
When he had 3 in the game, at that point he had a hat trick, and then he moved on from it, and now we got 4. Whatever a quad is. I don't know what it's called, but like if you do quad in figure skating,
a top hat trick.
They don't say, "Oh, you did 3 plus 1, you get the triple." No, you did a quad. So if you got 4 in the game, you got 4.
No one throws shit on the ice in figure skating, Jesse.
They do. They actually do every time.
At the end,
yeah,
that's true.
They throw everything.
Okay, you make.
I just think he finished the game with 4. Whatever number you finish with, that's what you got.
I hope you score 4 at Easter Seals, and everyone's got to get their hat back.
You don't take it back. It happened.
No, give it back. Give it back.
It's just not what he didn't end the game with a hat trick. He ended with 4.
Matthews has never scored a hat trick in at the Scotiabank Arena or Air Canada Centre.
Okay, he's never scored one ever in the NHL.
He scored 4 goals in Ottawa that one time.
Yeah.
Most reasonable people call it a hat trick.
Most do.
No, because he scored 4.
He scored 1 in Toronto during a preseason game against Montreal. Al Montoya was in net. Ricoh Coliseum. He's got to get one in that barn. He's got to get one in this building. This one. CTV. Right now.
This isn't CTV.
In front of us. This isn't?
This is Bell Media Radio's friend.
Well,
why did you call it CTV?
I don't know, because that's across the street.
Yeah, that's the next building over. That's the next building in the complex. We, sir,
and with the car,
are iHeartRadio Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, which you can listen to the show on.
You can. You could. Yeah, actually, somebody did message me, and they're like, "Hey, I'm listening to you on iHeartRadio." I'm like, "Good. That was the intention."
Yeah, that's why we're on there. They're stealing our content. Can you imagine?
It's like, no, we will take your podcast and also host it on our site.
What?
I just think it's absurd to call it a hat trick when he scored 4 goals.
Jesse, your existence is absurd.
I'm here, and it happened. He scored 4 goals, and it's not 3.
Wow.
So
Okay.
whatever.
All right. I don't like this.
I'm gonna leave your body on that hill.
Yeah,
Don't blame you.
there's certain hills I don't want to fight to kill anyone on.
No.
You know, if you're gonna die on this hill, sometimes I'm like, I'm gonna avoid the hill. I'm just not even.
You know
gonna
what?
Attended funeral.
If Adam was on the beaches of Normandy, we would have left him in the sand.
That's right.
Wow. Wow.
I would have asked you to. So I don't want if that's the hill, if that's waiting for me, no thanks.
Yeah, not for him. Jeans in the freezer. He'll die.
Yeah, sleeping in unfinished basement with dogs.
He's got lives for that.
Yeah, exactly. I got time for that. Honestly,
4-goal hat tricks not being hat tricks.
you should see the kitchen I
4
put
goals
together.
is
It's
a
pretty
hat trick.
sweet.
Come up with a different name.
No.
It's pretty sweet. And I got like shelves.
I never want to come over ever again.
Well, what do you come? You can't fit. You can't come over to anything.
I have a big basement. You just can't stand up straight in it.
Hey, Adam, if you want to like come over to my house, you can.
It's okay.
Do you have your passport? Do you have your passport ready?
Yeah, I know.
To go to Oshawa?
Go to Oshawa.
We have an airport, okay? We are not Winnipeg. We have an airport.
No, in all honesty, what complicates things is when you get a second dog. When you have one dog, it's fine. When you get a second dog, then people are like, oh. So I never ask people to come stay over because I have 2 dogs. But also, I'm sleeping in my own basement and doing my own thing. It's sweet. I love it. Are
your dogs like cantankerous?
No, they're the quietest dogs.
No, they don't like stab themselves with sticks or anything.
Not like yours. No, Iggy is. He's like a happy 18-wheeler. Like he just is like the freight train that will not stop. That's wearing the biggest smile. It's hilarious.
I literally saw just a streak of white, like I always do at the dog park, except there was like a little streak of red as well. And he's just like pouring blood as he's running by.
And you think it was
the time of his life?
You think it was a stick?
It was either he got attacked by a squirrel or he impaled himself on a stick.
He probly just ran by a stick.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
It's probably just scratched him on the way.
Like the British horses in Braveheart, just running into the pikes.
Okay, so fun story. I threw a stick once. Yes, just like that, actually. I threw a stick once, and my dog, Bindi, loves chasing sticks, so I was throwing sticks. But it was in early spring last year, and the stick went into the earth and stuck out like a pike.
Oh, no.
And Bindi ran and missed it, and it hit her right in the chest. Now, nothing happened.
Yeah.
But it was like it like bounced off her chest.
Like an arrow.
Yeah, and then she went, "Arr!" and then turned around, and like, you know when kids fall in the playground and they run towards their parents?
Yeah.
And they're crying, and they think they're hurt, but they're not really that hurt.
Yeah.
And you can tell because they're yelling.
Did she give you the paw?
They run. So she cried all the way up. She looked at me and went, "Oh!" And then she cried all the way. Like, and every time the paw touched the ground, it was like, "Oh, oh, oh, oh." And then I was like, "Oh my God, you are a toddler. Holy crap." Anyway, boring Batman story. I bet there's a bunch of people in the comments right now going, "Oh, that's crazy."
Yo, that's crazy. I've been getting a bunch of those.
Have you?
Yeah.
Should we bring on Marc Spector?
Yes.
Yeah.
3 o'clock.
Look at the time.
Let's do it.
Check out the Big Brain on Brad.
All right, the book is called Road to Gold by Marc Spector. That's right, Sportsnet's Marc Spector, the untold story of Canada at the World Juniors. And welcome for the first time to the Steve Dangle podcast, Marc Spector. Marc,
honor to be here, gentlemen. Nothing short of an honor.
Now, you didn't have to lie to us right off the top, Marc. Come on. So okay, we gotta ask you because this is one of the things we were talking about this before the show. Canada has this amazing history of winning at the World Juniors, but also they lose spectacularly. Does your book get into the winning side or the losing side or both?
Both, I would say.
Okay.
Excuse me. Because it is like it's sort of like the Leafs. There's so much focus on everything they do that there's no winning quietly and there's no losing quietly, right? So, just as John Slaney scored that unbelievable goal or Jordan Eberle scored his unbelievable goal, I had a long talk with Luongo about this guy in net. The Russian puck flew past him in overtime in the gold medal game. I think that was in Winnipeg, and the poor kid was crying. He's lying on the ice balling, and we got the net cam on him right in his face.
Yeah.
It's never been pretty to lose at the World Junior if you're Canadian.
Yeah, that was something that struck me because I've had the opportunity to cover a couple, and I was at the awful one in Saskatoon where John Carlson broke everyone's hearts and ruined what would have been Jordan Eberle's crown jewel, even better than the 5.4, because he scored those 2 goals to tie it. And after the game, we're talking to Brandon Kozin. Remember him, Spec?
Yep, I remember Brandon Kozin.
And, there's this story with him. I think he was born in California, so he was born American, playing for Canada, loses to the Americans, and we're like 20 seconds deep into this interview. And I think everyone at the same moment sort of turned to each other and was like, we're talking to children here. And like he's in the middle of crying. What was the hardest thing to write in your book about the World Juniors?
You know what? I'm going to have to rephrase it a little because, none of it was heat of the moment. I'm talking to guys mostly years later.
Right.
But one of the coolest things was last year in Vancouver, you'll remember that in overtime, the Canadian captain, Maxime Comtois, had a penalty shot.
Yes.
In overtime against Finland in a quarterfinal game. So it's lose and you go home. And he didn't make the penalty shot. He was foiled on it. And very shortly thereafter, the Finns went down and scored this incredibly lucky bounce goal. And we're out, man.
That's it.
Comtois, you know, the wrath of Canadian social media came down on this poor Comtois kid. And they beat him up for days on, you know, in a foolishly stupid way, which really describes Twitter perfectly. Oh. And I had a long talk with him about what it was like to be that guy, you know, who jumped over the boards and said, I'll take this shot. And I talked to Connor McDavid about being that guy, and I talked to Sid Crosby about being that guy. And, you know, McDavid said so perfectly, he said, hey, sure, there's 4 or 5 guys on that team that want to take that shot. But he says there's a dozen guys who are burying their heads when the coach is looking around. They want no part of that shot. So, you know, we do put a lot of pressure on these guys, and the players that take it on the most, you got to have respect for them, even when they fail.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember the hate for that. I couldn't believe that he was a trending topic almost immediately, and then you looked at the vitriol. It was so crazy that people. You sort of expect that city to city in the NHL, right? You expect that a little bit, like, but you never really expect Canadians,
the whole country,
to be so mad at a guy missing a penalty shot, which is basically a coin flip. It's surprising really surprising that the reaction came the way that it did. And Mark, you know, one of the things about Canada at this tournament, and I mean, you know a hell of a lot more about it than I do, is there seems to be that sort of pressure following them around everywhere they go. From the second that the cameras are at their door when they get the phone call from their coach, right? Because they've got, you know, TV cameras at the door going, hey, how's it feel? And it's like 6 a.m. There seems to be this elevated status that these guys have for 30 days. There are like NHL level stars for 30 days, and everybody's following them around and getting to know them and finding about their history. What kind of effect do you think that has on a 16, 17, 18-year-old? And wasn't in Crosby's case, didn't he almost make it at 15?
Something like that,
it was some crazy thing. What do you think how does that affect them?
Well, you know, I asked a bunch of guys that question. Basically, it boils down to, you know, we have this gold or bust philosophy, right? We've all heard that before. Gold or bust. And we've even watched Team Canadas at various levels who find themselves in a bronze medal game because they lost the semi. And on many occasions, we have barely played. Like in that game, our teams are lousy. They don't care. They're not interested in playing for bronze. I believe there was an Olympic team that fell under that.
Yes.
So, you know, I asked Connor McDavid. I asked Sid Crosby. I asked Jarome Iginla. And, you know, Jarome Iginla put it really well. He said, the program of excellence, he says, they get us going when we're 16 years old in this thing, right? The best guys start on the U17s and then the U18s. And he says, that's how it is when you play for Canada. You're supposed to win. And we embrace that. And he said, that's the culture so that when we're walking out of that dressing room in overtime in Vancouver 2010 in the Olympics, right? And almost all those guys on that Team Canada had been through the program of excellence. He said, we're going out in that overtime and we're going to win, right? We've been steeled for this thing. We're ready for it. And if you don't start it when they're kids, he says, you're never going to learn it. So none of those guys thought it was too much pressure. Connor McDavid said, absolutely not. That's how players should learn. That should be the expectation. And I'm kind of like you guys. I thought it's a little bit too much pressure. But the guys who have been through it, none of them agree.
Wow. Okay.
That's because when you say that, the program of excellence, I'm half like, hell yeah, go Canada. And the other half of me is like, that sounds like a cult.
It feels Soviet-ish.
Right?
You know?
Yeah. I want to know, did you speak to any non-Canadians for this? And what's their perception of our weird little country and program?
You know what? I didn't. When I did the chapter on Piestany, I had a lot of stories relayed to me from people that were close to the Russians, but there's a couple of Russian guys on that team who could never find them. So Valery Zelepukin was one of the guys. He was in on that Russian team. But fortunately, my answer to you is no. I didn't spend a lot of time talking to guys from other countries because this was a book about Canada.
Right. Okay.
Right. But that is a big part of Canadian World Junior history. For some of the younger listeners, can you explain what happened there?
Yeah, like a giant brawl where they turned out the lights, and it was a 20-on-20.
That was a real thing.
That is literally and both countries got disqualified, did they not?
Yeah, right. So the short, quick story is basically it was the last game of the tournament. If Canada won by 5 goals, they'd win the gold medal. The Russians were done, so all they had to play for was screwing it up for Canada. So they came out, they were chippy, they were cheap, they were very disappointed in themselves, and their coaches were disappointed in them. So right away, Canada had this weird opponent that had nothing to lose. And let's fast forward. All of a sudden, there's a couple fights on the ice. 2 Russian guys jump off the bench. The entire Canadian team follows them. So now it's a bench-clearing brawl. But I talked to Brendan Shanahan for a really long time. He was in this brawl, right? And the cool thing was this, that I never knew. He said, we all came from these junior teams in Canada, so we knew how bench-clearing brawls went. Like, the fighters fight, maybe there's 4 or 5 real fights, and then all the other guys kind of grab a partner that's, their level of player, and they all kind of stand around and watch, right? And
Yeah.
that's how we did it in Canada for all those years. So there's really only 4 or 5 fights. They probably throw a couple guys out, and then they resume the game, and everybody else gets to play. But in this brawl, the Russians had no idea how to do a bench-clearing brawl. They had no clue. And what they thought was, every guy has to fight.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Every guy. So every Russian guy comes over the boards looking to fight somebody. And not only that, they don't know how to fight because they didn't play Canadian junior hockey, right? They don't fight. So they're kicking, and they're like, when they went down, they got up swinging. Like, the fights went on forever, and it was dangerous as hell. Guys were stepping on each other, and it was a real 20-on-20, and it was absolutely... Shani said it was the craziest brawl I'd ever been in, and he'd been in a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
So by the time it ended, it wasn't anything like Canada. They kicked all the teams out. Both teams got kicked out at the end of the game. The Canadians went back to their room going, okay, you know what? Let's cool down. We'll go out there and beat these guys. Well, that was it, man. The end of the game, and it was over.
Wow.
I think it's a little tough to come back when they shut the lights off. I can't believe that happened like that recently. It's one thing when Jeff Merrick is showing you black and white tape of them.
He's the Wikipedia of NHL fights.
Just unbelievable. Yeah. When they're playing God Save the Queen and, sending the police onto the ice. I can't believe they had to turn the lights off for this thing. That's got to be the weirdest moment in Canadian World Junior history, right, Mark?
Well, and you know what? It made us. It made Canadians in Canada really look at what we're doing here, right? We're these passive Canadians. We use the word sorry more than any other nation. Our naval fleet is smaller than the amount of submarines in West Edmonton Mall.
Hey, that's a big mall.
It is a big mall.
So we're this passive, friendly country, and then you put hockey sticks in our hands, and we're the only people that have brawl protocol.
Yeah.
The European refs didn't know what the hell to do. The organizers didn't know what the hell to do. The Russians didn't know what the hell to do. But us Canadians, we've refined hockey fighting to the point where we've got protocol. So I think we kind of looked at ourselves after that and said, you know what, maybe we should figure this out. Very shortly thereafter, guys, the NHL put in a rule where they fined coaches and suspended players who came over the bench. So they effectively ended bench-clearing brawls right after Piestany. And frankly, the only cool thing was Luke Richardson fought in that Piestany brawl. Then he gets kicked out like everybody. He goes home to the OHL. His first game back, bench clearing brawl.
That's awesome.
Hey, Mark, to your mind, what's the best year of Canadian talent that ever went, and did they win?
Oh, it's for sure the group in North Dakota. in 2005, right? That was the lockout year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's on the cover of my book. Like, you look at those guys huddled around the net, and you look at the names on their back. It's like Patrice Bergeron, Jeff Carter, Corey Perry. Who else did we have on that team? Mike Richards, Dion Phaneuf, Shea Weber, Andrew Ladd, right? All kinds of just the very best guys that stalked our Olympic teams. Dion Phaneuf, did I mention Sid Crosby was on that team?
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh,
right?
yeah, that guy. Sportsnet's own Anthony Stewart.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he was on it.
He was on that team, too. So that was the best team in World Junior history. They never lost a period. They never lost a game. And they'll never be a better team than that one, I'm here to tell you.
Well, talking about not the Canadian team, but going to one of Canada's teams, it looked like the Oilers were the best team in the world for about 9 games there when they went 7-1-1.
Yeah, no kidding.
And it's been a bit of a tough go since. What's going on in Edmonton?
You know what? There's a reason they missed the playoffs for 12 of the last 13 years, right?
Is there?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's that?
Newsflash, right? They're not a powerhouse.
Well,
so then they bring in a new general manager. He's got no cap space. Pete Chiarelli butchered the team last year. And, Ken Holland put a few players in here. He spent what little money he had. He brought in some guys for some depth. But they got 2 of the greatest players in the game in McDavid and Draisaitl, and they got a pretty nice defense going here and a little bit of goaltending, but they're going to have to fight like hell to make the playoffs. They're not an elite team, not at this point. Maybe they'll get there, but they're not there yet.
Do you think that they're going to have the opportunity to add, because they definitely need depth scoring. They need scoring beyond the Cassian, Draisaitl, McDavid punch. Do you think they're going to be able to add somebody and find a partner who can take on potentially some bigger salary that maybe they need to shed?
Well, it's a good question. How would I say? I think there's 2 sections here. If we get to the deadline and the Oilers are looking like they could have a real good shot at making the playoffs, I think Ken Holland will just go out and find himself. He's looking for a third-line center.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he'll be all over Jean-Gabriel Pajot, depending on what the price is on that player, but he'll be in on that. And he'll also be looking for, if you're ever going to split up McDavid and Draisaitl, you got to have more wingers. They don't have enough wingers here to split those guys up on a regular basis. So I think that he will augment at the trade deadline for picks and prospects, and then come summertime when some cap space gets freed up, he'll probably go out and get a $3.5 million, $4 million either center or winger who can make his team deeper and better.
Ignore whether or not it would have been the smart thing to do. Did you want Taylor Hall to come back to town just for the fun of it?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It sounded like they were right in there.
They were, but you know what? I'm not even sure what Arizona's doing necessarily, guys, because that trade is a trade you make when you're a Stanley Cup contender.
Right.
You give up a first, probably a second, 3 prospects. That's a bold trade, man. You're giving up a lot of tomorrow for a guy that might not even play for you next September. So you got to be winning a cup to me and ready to win a cup. The Oilers aren't that team. They're not ready to win a cup.
Right.
And I'm not sure Arizona is. Do you think they are?
Well, they have Stanley Cup experience in Phil Kessel, right? So.
Pedigree.
Back to back. Actually, this is a good transition because Twitter has been begging me to ask you the question. There's one thing I know about Marc Spector, one thing in the world, and that is that he has a fiery hatred for the Arizona Coyotes. And I want to know why. What have they ever done to you?
Is that actually true? Is that what people think?
He hates them.
Okay, Mark, do you hate the Coyotes?
No, I don't hate them.
What?
I don't hate them.
But Twitter told us that you do.
Well, I wrote a piece on how boring they've been throughout their existence. Does that count?
Yes.
You know what? I'll tell you, and I'll argue my case, and no one can. No, I just did this FM station the other day in Phoenix, and this guy was going to take me apart, and I made my argument to him, and he couldn't. He had no. Since they came into the league, the Arizona Coyotes are the third lowest scoring team in hockey.
Whoa.
If you break that down to the last 20 years, third lowest. Last 10 years, third lowest. So they never score, okay? So that's fine. They never score. They don't score goals. So let's look at their attendance, right? How is hockey, the way they play it, sold in Arizona? I don't think I need to go much further down that road. We all know their attendance stinks, right?
Yeah.
So the league has been supporting this team for 20 years, and they finally bring in a guy like Taylor Hall because they're thinking we got to score some goals. Just give me some. I'm not into 2-1 hockey every night. Once in a while, sure, but not every night. So is that not fair?
Well, I mean, yeah. You know, it's funny, Mark, to back up your point, I've told this on this show before, but for our honeymoon, my wife and I in 2018 went to Arizona, and we fly into Phoenix, and I asked the person at the car rental desk, and there's something about car rental desk people, they pretty much know where you should go and they always give you a few recommendations. I said, you know where the hockey arena is from here? And she said, I have no idea. And I, like, right. It was almost as though she didn't know that Arizona has a team.
How don't you know it as like a landmark?
Right. But they just no idea.
So what about this old beauty? Well, the rink's not in Scottsdale, so nobody's going to the games. You know, there's like millions of people down there, man. And lots of them live within 5 miles of that arena.
Yeah, isn't Scottsdale like beautiful?
Have you ever been to Glendale? Have you ever been over to Surprise and Peoria and all those places on that side of the freeway? Like, there's millions of people living over there. But no one goes to the rink, and they go, wow, you know, because the rink's not in Scottsdale. Well, like the guy from Surprise, he's allowed to buy a ticket too, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they're cheap enough.
And they're cheap enough.
Yeah.
So are you kidding me? $20 bill gets you in that rink, I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah.
I've always liked the Coyotes because they gave us the Wayne Gretzky head coach era, which was such a failure that I like it.
Yeah, whenever anybody talks about Wayne Gretzky, that is suspiciously left off.
Right?
Eh? Nobody interviews Wayne Gretzky and goes, so tell us about your time with the Coyotes.
Which was like 4 years.
It was a long time.
It's like Ric Flair's 8th comeback. You're like, that's enough, Rick.
Yeah.
Yeah, just stick.
Just
to
talk
rap
about
songs.
the 80s. Talk about the 80s, man.
Yeah. Listen. They're struggling to score goals. They're struggling to keep butts in seats and fill the arena. Tell us what's going on in Edmonton.
Mark.
Sorry, I had to get that in there for the Arizona listeners.
One question I really want to ask you about, and Elliot Friedman mentioned it in 31 Thoughts, is Darnell Nurse. He's got an extension that's due. What do you pay him? And you know, he's an unrestricted free agent in 2 years. So do you go to arbitration with this guy this summer and do a short-term deal until you can clear cap space? Or do you fight like hell to clear cap space and pay him now and try to get him on a long-term deal?
No. I mean, it always depends on how much the player's asking for.
Sure.
I'm not erring on paying too much money to Darnell Nurse. I want to know. I'm still not sure what he is.
Interesting.
You know? Like, you only pay so much money for a real good defensive shutdown guy. If he just concentrates on defense, he's big and strong and skates great. He can shut you down. But there might not be many points there. He's still a player who, when he goes hunting for points and when he uses that big, great stride and carries the puck to the other end, a lot of bad stuff happens defensively. So he's not, I don't know that he's the player he wants to be at. He was a 41-point player last year. He's not on pace for that again this year. So I'm a little concerned with looking at Darnell Nurse and putting a finished product on him. I'm not sure what it is, and I'm not paying him $6 million and then finding out later on that he's a $4.5 million defenseman. So I'm bridging him for a couple of years, and I'm taking my chances. And if all these defensive prospects in Edmonton come up and turn out to be really good, like they're hoping they will, I'm either going to trade one of them, or I'm going to trade Nurse, or I'm going to trade somebody.
Wow.
You think Nurse carries the physical burden of the team a little bit too much? 'Cause he's got to be a top 5 guy in the league you don't want to fight. But also,
Yep.
I feel like your enforcer shouldn't be a defenseman.
Especially a guy who's in your top 4.
Yeah, he's too important to the team to be off the ice that much.
Come on. How many fights a year? Come on.
There's Spec. There he is. There he is. I was wondering what you would say about that. Part of me was like, I just thought you might be like, you know what, Steve, you're right.
Nah.
Fighting is dying in this game, and we don't need it anymore. What a dummy.
Well, no, my question is, it is dying in the game. How many fights a year would Darnell Nurse have?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know,
4,
7 or 8.
Yeah. Big
Something
deal.
like
so what?
Yeah, it's not an every game thing. What are your thoughts on, and I know that you and Eric Francis kind of split duties on this and that sort of thing, but I do want to get your thoughts on the Flames of late. They're, 8-2-0 since Jeff Ward took over.
Something like that, yeah.
And it seemed like they always had the talent. The Bill Peters controversy aside, the Bill Peters Akim Aliu thing aside, it seemed as though, before we knew what we know about Bill Peters now, that there would have been no way for the Flames to let him go, even though he clearly was not, or at least in my mind, at the time, was not the right coach for that team.
His professional coaching record stunk.
Do you think that Brad Treliving would have been able to make that change, A? And B, does it surprise you that the Flames have been as good as they've been?
Well, you just described the dirty little secret that's getting revealed here in Calgary, right? Is Brad Treliving looked down at Bill Peters and said, man, Goodrow's not playing for him, and our team's underachieving, and nothing's going well. Remember, he came out, he did that public vote of confidence for Peters, because he's saying, I just had 100 last year for me. I can't fire my kid.
You know what, Mark? I gotta stop you just because we're losing you, and I'm getting pieces of what you're saying, and I'm dying to hear the answer. So you're cutting out a little bit. I'm not sure if it's a if there's a dead zone you're in or whatever. I just wanted to let you know.
Let me see if we can change that. Is this any better?
That's amazing.
Better. Much better.
Okay,
Much
so
better,
let's start from your answer again. Sorry, the dirty little secret.
That's okay. It is. It's the dirty little secret in Calgary, right? It's hard to fire a coach that had 107 points for you last year.
Yeah.
So you're looking at him and you're going, I could go to ownership and say we're going to fire this guy, but geez, that's not something a GM wants to do. And then along comes the whole Akim Aliu controversy and the whole thing, and now Peters is gone, and they've got a new coach in there. The team is revitalized, and if this thing keeps up the way it looks like it's going, people are going to look back at that as we all thought it might be a negative turning point for the Flames this season. It might turn out to be a positive turning point for the Flames.
Seems like that. Who's your pick to come out of the West in the playoffs? Who do you like the best in the West?
A Central Division team, whoever they are.
Any one of them. If I had to pick one, I'm going to go with Colorado.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And it's
Colorado. You gotta. You know what? The thing about St. Louis is they've made it through the toughest part of the schedule, where Stanley Cup winners get bored and don't play very well.
Mm-hmm.
They're past that now, right? We're almost halfway through the season, and they're playing great.
Right.
So you got to keep them in the mix here. They're a really, really, really good team. And I always look at Dallas. I think they should be better than they are. One of these days, they got to be good, don't they?
Well, you hope so, because they're getting older. And they didn't get any younger by signing Pavelski this summer, but they're looking good. They're in a wild card spot with Calgary. They're both.
They just fired their coach for mystery
reasons. We don't know the reasons for that either.
We have no idea. I was saying last show, I didn't like how they executed it, because it's like, that board game Guess Who? It's like, does he wear a hat? Flick, flick, flick. Was it this kind of misconduct? Flick, flick. I don't know why the guessing game with that.
You just kind of have to let it go.
Yeah, I think when they fire me one day, they're going to say, we've fired him for non-journalistic reasons.
Fair enough. Hey, Mark, what are your thoughts on, and I don't know how much Eastern Conference hockey you're seeing, but because it always comes back to Toronto. What are your thoughts on the Leafs and how the season's gone? They obviously let Mike Babcock go. They're now 8-4 under the new guy. What have you seen from the Toronto Maple Leafs? And actually, I want to compare too with the Tampa Bay Lightning as well. Two teams that were pretty strong last year. Tampa far more strong. And what are you seeing now that prevented them from being successful? And then they changed since.
Well, for me, the Leafs, the biggest interest for me in watching the Leafs is Kyle Dubas and the whole program. Right, he's such a smart guy, and he's I've met him several times. I have a ton of respect for him. He's clearly, him and John Chaika are sort of the flag bearers for the new, young, analytics-based general manager, right? And I say that respectfully. Like, they're both smart cats, And Dubas's program there is built like an analytics guy would build it. For instance, the Kadri trade. What you trade away in Kadri are all those things that you cannot quantify on some kind of a chart. His abrasiveness and his what he does to the opposition and the physicality of his play is the exact elements that the analytics movement has, I think, struggled to quantify, and some people in it, not all, some people in it disrespect those qualities. They go, who cares if he hits? Well, I'm looking at a Leafs team now that's pretty light. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at a Leafs team that needs to be able to, like, I watch them. I couldn't believe when they walked into St. Louis the other night and won, but that Boston-St. Louis team, to me, in Washington is a huge mismatch for Toronto. And I'm interested to see how Dubas sort of backs up a little bit, and if he says, okay, you know what, it is about analytics, but there's also got to be some old-time hockey in here, because look at the teams that succeed. They're all big, they're all strong, they win their battles, and we're not winning enough battles right now to be one of them.
Kadri was such a tough one because he does all those things that you mentioned. He's actually an analytical darling. He's got really good underlying numbers. The trouble, man, back-to-back playoffs with a suspension. Like, you can't have that happen a third time. You just couldn't risk it.
At that point, it's on management.
Yeah, if it happens again, it immediately falls on Dubas, because it's like
that's fair.
You knew.
That's fair, but then I would suggest that you needed to replace him with a guy that brought a lot of what he had.
That's fair.
Is that fair?
Yeah,
that's fair.
Absolutely. And they still might. I think there's this hope in Toronto. I don't know.
Darnell Nurse.
No, well, Darnell Nurse. No, I think Wayne Simmons. Everybody in Toronto seems to hope and pray that Wayne's he's a winger, and there's no room for that.
$5 million.
Yeah, there's no way. And I guess, Mark, I got to ask you about you, because one of the things that I love about you is you say what you think, and people get really upset about it.
Soft-spoken.
And yeah, and you seem to be able to let it fly off your back like very few people. It doesn't seem to bother you, and I just wonder, how you handle that, because there's times where, and I think the best we can admit it on this show, there's times where you say something, it's unpopular, people are pissed off at you, and you're able to just smile about it, and the next day it's like, hey, whatever. And I frankly admire that. So how do you do it?
Well, you know what? I don't take myself too seriously, for one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I'm not right all the time. I'm like any guy out there making predictions. I'm wrong sometimes. But I think if you look, I'm not keeping a scorecard here. I let it go. But I think if you look back on a lot of those unpopular things I've said, lots of times they're right. And I think there's an old saying out there that says the truth hurts. Like, when I talk about Arizona being boring, and I tell you that they're the lowest scoring team in hockey for a quarter century, and they're the lowest drawing team for a quarter century, that's not opinion, gentlemen. That is pure fact. So guys don't want to hear those facts. I get that. But listen, that's tough luck, pal.
That's what I love.
Listener of Lizzo.
Yeah.
Truth hurts.
Marc Spector, non-confrontational author, reporter.
And one last question for you, because I know we've already held you for way too long, and I so appreciate you giving us the time, honestly.
Pleasure, boys. Pleasure.
Steve Dangle. I'm asking about Steve because I want to know
I'll take my
what your perception of Steve, because Steve's a bit of a different animal, and in hockey and that sort of thing. And I want to know what your initial thought about what Steve was doing was, and if that's changed at all, or if it hasn't.
Well, it's funny because I've always had a very unpopular expression out here of every time there's a free agent that's around available, whether it's John Tavares or whether it's Drew Doughty, anytime there's a guy that grew up in Ontario, right, and he's coming towards UFA status, Steve Stamkos, remember all those?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. A little bit.
The Toronto media always talks about how he grew up a Leafs fan, and they trot out these pictures of a guy in Leafs jammies, and they actually did that with Tavares.
Right.
But I think the original guy in Leafs jammies was Steve Dangle.
Hell yeah!
I think he is the original Leafs jammy guy.
He's original pajama boy.
You can't put a price on comfort, Spec.
So I was talking about Steve Dangle before Steve Dangle was Steve Dangle, and I'm proud to say I feel like a little bit of a father now.
Oh,
Wow.
What a disappointment.
Western dad.
Yeah. My Alberta dad.
Well, Marc, it was a pleasure to finally get to talk to you. And please keep being you, because, man, it makes me howl with laughter. Some of the things that people get upset about.
Like a coyote.
First off, can I just throw this out there too? If a guy on FM radio is talking about the Coyotes, he has like no ratings, right? There's no way.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
Probably,
like-
yes.
Adam, how dare you?
I'm sorry, but come on. Come on. You're talking about the Diamondbacks, you're talking about the Cardinals. You are not talking about the Coyotes on FM Sports Talk. Get out of here.
Yo,
Anyway.
To
that's
some guy
crazy.
from Canada.
Yeah, maybe. Well, listen, Marc, Marc, it was a real pleasure. Again, the book is called Road to Gold: The Untold Story of Canada at the World Juniors by one Marc Spector of Sportsnet. Marc, thank you so much for making time for us today.
All right, boys, always a pleasure.
I had to ask him those last two questions. I thought it was important because Marc is a guy who, I mean, there's no other way to put it. He is a lightning rod. Mm-hmm. He's a guy that he splits people, and it's fun to watch.
It's a shame he covers the Oilers because he's got like a little bit of Matthew Tkachuk energy.
Yes.
He loves it.
Yes.
Oh, you hate me? Good.
Good. And he just laughs about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I want to know. I love asking people from the West about you, and that's why it's just.
He's a dick.
It's a sick
One day you gotta
thing.
ask him when I'm not here.
Yeah,
I think it's a problem.
We should just have him on and co-host.
I think most of the answers would start with, "Well, listen." All right. Okay,
I want to talk about a few things, and Marc mentioned some of them, and it's too bad we didn't have him the whole episode because honestly, I could have asked him about Western teams the whole time. I do want to talk about that Taylor Hall trade because we didn't really get a chance to jump into it. Some of the stuff that's been interesting that's come out is why Ray Shero made the trade, now, rather than closer to the deadline when perceptually you maybe could get more coming down to the deadline. And some of the prospects they got, I mean, they got their first round pick, whatever, which you would expect. That seems like
that's the best part
goes
of the
without
deal.
saying. The prospects are not, they don't seem like they're going to be guys that are stars. And it was interesting when I read an article in The Athletic, and forgive me for who I read it by, but they basically were, it was Pierre LeBrun actually. He said that another general manager said that Ray Shero did well by that trade because rentals just aren't worth as much anymore. People have gotten smart to the whole rental thing and aren't giving up the A-plus prospects for these players anymore.
No, and for the Devils, you want to get as much as possible and you want to get more, but to me, the amount of pieces was good for them. Kevin Isabelle,
Yeah.
Doesn't project that high, according to a lot of people. Same with Nate Schnarr, and same for, who's the third
Good
prospect?
question.
Can't remember them all off the top of my head. And then they got the first that's guaranteed and the third that could be a second or a first. It's 5 parts. Like, even if none of those guys end up being super duper stars, well, that trade is so rarely available. The Duchesne trade was a mistake.
Yeah.
It wasn't intended to be that way. It was a mistake. So to me, the Devils have Jack Hughes, who they're going to build around, Nico Hischier, who they've locked up and they're going to build around. So those are their stars. Those are their stars of the future. If they can fill them with, if they hit on both draft picks and those 3 guys make the NHL even as periphery contributors,
Relevant players.
that's a great way of putting it, Adam. I think that works for them. Here's also why you trade Taylor Hall early. He's played 30 games this season. He played 33 last year. 76 the year before as an MVP. 72 the year before that. 82 in his last year in Edmonton. Wow! But it was the only time he's ever done that, as far as I can tell. 53, 75, 45, although that was the lockout shortened one, 61, and 65.
So you're saying some hard miles, maybe.
Guy gets hurt a lot, man. And while he's healthy, you might as well deal him now. Don't wait for him to get hurt. If Taylor Hall gets hurt and you run out of runway for the trade deadline, it's a disaster.
Right. Although I have to say, I respect the hell out of Arizona for making that deal. I know Mark said, he's like, I don't see them as a cup contender. I see them as a team that needs to contend for fans. You know, their goal should not be winning Stanley Cups. It should be winning new fans. And not that they couldn't, but when you saw the play Taylor Hall made last night to win the game, right? Mm-hmm. And that was all him. He fought through a player, stole the puck, got it to Oliver Ekman-Larsson, back of the net. And that's what you get a Taylor Hall for. You're not getting Phil Kessel to forecheck like that. You're getting Taylor Hall to forecheck like that.
And he goes brain first into everything. He's done that since junior.
I think this is the Arizona Coyotes saying, okay, not that the cup doesn't matter, but we're the top of the division. We got to make a splash in this market. This is a great player anyway. Mm-hmm. And we've got to be able to show that this is a team worth coming to see. And they've got they're lucky right now because they were able to do it at a kind of a quiet point of the year. The Arizona Cardinals, I don't even know how they're doing this year.
They're not good.
They're not good.
No. Kyler Murray.
The Diamondbacks.
They're not good.
The Diamondbacks, I believe, just made a huge baseball signing, but they're not playing.
It'd be weird if they made a big basketball signing.
It would be weird, but they're not playing. So you're in a spot where you're sort of in a sports dead zone. So if there are sports fanatics in Arizona, of which there are many, what are they paying attention to? What are they watching? And all of a sudden, this becomes, in the news cycle, one of the top stories.
And right around Christmas, any Coyotes fan in the family, you get to go, oh, Taylor Hall, something like that. It's good for team chemistry. Get them in the lineup nice and early, get them to bond with the guys, get Phil Kessel going, because even though the Coyotes have been good, Phil Kessel has not been.
Yep. Clayton Keller's their leading goal scorer.
Chayka was probably, and which he should be, but I think Chayka was counting on the Phil Kessel trade being the one that brought offense to the team. Not quite so much.
Yeah, he struggled mightily.
Yeah, he has struggled. Still hasn't missed a bloody game. Mm-hmm. And maybe ought to.
If plus minus matters, he's a minus 18. So.
At a certain point, it matters a little, right?
Right. When it's so egregious, I feel like it should matter a little.
Like if you get into the minus 20 range, maybe there are probably other indicators before that are probably better indicators, but it might be like even that's bad.
Dylan DeMello +7 on Ottawa. I go, whatever. And he's second on that team. John Gabriel Pajot +18. What?
Probably matters.
Probably matters.
Matters just a little bit.
If you're leading the division and you're -18, it's not a very good sign.
One thing about New Jersey too, they were specifically looking for defense prospects.
Yeah,
and they got it.
Didn't they only get one?
Yeah, they got Ball is who they're looking for. They're looking for Vince Dunn out of St. Louis, but that was never going to happen.
No.
But they got what they were looking for.
I bet it would have been
prospect system.
To get him to Edmonton, it would have been Ethan Bear.
Yeah.
At least.
Ethan Bear plus.
He's got to be part of it.
But and Edmonton's not giving that up. There's no way.
No.
You might do you even give up a Caleb Jones? I don't think you do.
And I defended Vegas when they were just throwing around picks like a drunken sailor. The Coyotes can sort of do that too. They got that first round pick for the ghost of Pavel Datsuk. That's cheating.
That's a free pick.
Yeah. It's a free pick. It's not cheating, but it is free.
So that's
it's like the
Detroit
Marlowe pick that left. Yeah.
That's the Detroit pick. That they gave him. Isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I can't remember.
But
if
that projects to be a pretty good pick.
It was Chychrun or Keller. Can't remember which one of those two it turned into. I think it was Chychrun. So the team's not old. It's got some young guys. The defense is a little here and there when it comes to age. But you got arguably the best goalie in the league this season right now. You have one of the most underrated pairings back there with Goligoski and who's he with? Can't remember. They need goals. Why not go out and get Taylor Hall? I like it.
It was their own first round pick.
It was their own. Yeah, I got confused there. But they had the extra first round pick from Detroit, I think is what you were saying, right?
They don't have it anymore.
Sorry, they had in recent years.
Years. I see. Sorry, I got confused.
I was also confused.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I'm looking at the Jersey roster right now, and the thing that is surprising to me is now we keep hearing, it's not going to be a fire sale. It's not going to be a fire sale. This roster is primed for a fire sale.
Yeah.
This New Jersey should be what Detroit is now next year.
Who's UFA, Jesse?
Forget who's even UFA.
It's just
guys that you should move on from.
Right.
Zajak's making $5.75. I don't think you're going to get a taker for him though.
That's the problem.
Simmons is at $5 million and it's 1 year. You can retain on Simmons at $2.5 million.
Yes.
There's value.
Yeah, absolutely.
Palmieri's got 2 more years at 4.6. You've got Nikita Gusev. You probably want to hang on to him. And then on the defense, PK is obviously the first guy you look at. He's got 2 more years after this one. But Andy Green and Sami Vatanen are both guys that are up. Andy Green is the captain. He's got a no trade. He's 37, but he gives you some experience on the left side. Same with Sami Vatanen. People really like Sami Vatanen. I wonder if, at this point, why wouldn't you try to find some assets, try to find some value?
Yeah, why not take advantage of your bad season and instead of trying to salvage something out of it, just sell off all these guys who look like they won't be a part of the future when you're actually good.
You also don't want to completely burn it to the ground like Buffalo a few years ago. Like they're just recovering from that now.
Well, if you do it smartly and you hit on some of the pieces that you trade for when you burn it to the ground, then it won't be Buffalo.
That slow.
It'll be the Leafs where it's a quick turnaround.
Mm-hmm.
If you hit on Matthews, Nylander,
they got
Marner,
2 first picks this year.
What about this? Keep most of your guys. Get a freaking goalie.
Also that. Yeah.
Stop a puck. One of them. Ever.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they need, man.
They've traded their second and third round picks with PK.
Oh,
so
Nashville did well there.
This is why I think that they should sell. They should sell some of these guys.
Yeah.
Some of them. Don't burn it to ash.
You couldn't get you probably could get a second for Sami Vatanen and a third for Andy Green.
Why are you so against that? Burning to ash.
I worry because now you're committed to a rebuild. You got a GM who
commit to something. They haven't committed anything.
The waffling thing is the problem.
I agree with that, but Ray Shero cannot rebuild the Devils. You can't allow him to. He's the one who screwed this up.
So bring in someone new.
Yes, absolutely. Like to me, if you're going to rebuild, we have to have another conversation first, which is firing Ray Shero. So Simmons only being on the 1 year, I didn't realize. For some reason, I thought he signed for 3. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's the perfect candidate to trade off. And maybe those 2 guys on D. Because, are they good? Anyone who's not going to stick around, you got to get rid of.
Yeah.
Anyone with term, I don't know how easy it is to lure guys in New Jersey. You know what? Go get Kovalchuk.
Listen, if you're in New Jersey, you're across the bridge from New York City. I think it's not that hard to lure people to it. Yeah, it's the cheaper.
Why live across the street from
because
New York
it's
City?
where families live.
Right.
When you work in Manhattan, you live in New Jersey. That's where the families live. And so a lot of these guys would love to be able to jump into the city and go out for a night out. But I can tell you they probably don't want to live in it. And, you actually can get a house in New Jersey.
I think New Jersey is a very attractive market for people to play in, yeah.
Who's listening to this in New York traffic right now? I want to know that.
That'd be interesting.
I don't know why I looked into the camera. If you're looking at me dead in the eyes, you're driving dangerously.
Take the subway. They take the subway. I'm taking the subway.
Gotcha.
Which is actually good there.
Yes.
Which we do not have here.
No. Or roads.
Our subway system is, unless you're specifically on one street or specifically going along another one, the subway's pretty much useless.
Yeah, it's like you must be specifically going to this destination. Yeah. There can be no veering.
Commuting today is costing me $50.
Really?
$50. You cannot park at the Oshawa GO station because it's trash. You can't park at the Whitby GO station because it's trash. Ajax Pickering, same shit. So I just Uber from my house, which is $15 either way, and then the GO train's $20.
Oh gosh!
Every Wednesday, because I'm not driving. I'm not wasting frigging 4 hours of my life, and also the money the wear and tear on the car, the gas.
I'm confused. Do you enjoy transit?
No.
Okay.
Oh, transit? Yes.
Yeah, I think you do enjoy
transit. It greatly. It's like the Steve Carell, I love inside jokes. I wish I was part of one. I love transit. I wish we had some. We have none.
And you also don't like driving.
No, I don't like driving. I like driving, Jesse. I don't like being parked in the middle of the road. I literally put my car in park on the highway a couple weeks ago. It's a nightmare. I hate this place. I want to go home. It's the worst. What?
It's too bad the government mandated that Steve live in Oshawa. It's too bad they made him. You know,
Did we vote on that?
we voted. It was a city council resolution that said no.
Okay.
Steve Dangle must move to Oshawa.
I'm sorry that I didn't buy a friggin' IKEA cabinet down the street from here for $750,000. All right?
More than that.
I know.
3/4.
$750,000.
That's
I said an IKEA
That's a
cabinet.
steal. Oh my God. Show
know.
me where you got that.
Exactly. So all of a sudden, $50 seems cheap.
Yeah.
Hate this friggin' place. It's the worst. I love Toronto is great once you get here.
Yeah. That should be the city slogan, honestly.
Great once you get here.
The number
Also
one
when it's done.
trending topic in Canada. When I woke up this morning, what do you think it was?
Adam Wilde is a cuck.
No, what? That was yesterday.
Oh, sorry.
Pre-impeachment proceedings.
Right.
No, what do you think it was?
Trending topic, Auston Matthews.
Jesse, what do you think it was?
I know because I was with you this morning when you said it.
Is it the TikTok with the llama?
No, keep going. No, TikTok with the llama was great, though.
No. Was it Hamilton getting screwed out of a transit
No,
system?
go sports.
Was it the Blue Jays actually doing something?
No,
They haven't done it, so.
they haven't done anything.
Yeah.
This is in Toronto?
But it's
It's across Canada.
a cross-Canada topic. Sports related.
Yeah.
It's not Jays or Raptors.
Nope.
Now, what sport do we talk about the most?
Hockey.
It was a hockey topic.
A hockey.
Across Canada.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't the Leafs.
What happened last night that would make any fan base want to burn it down?
Who likes to burn things down?
Oh, what happened in Vancouver?
Hashtag fire Benning.
Oh, really?
National topic. The
Hashtag
number
smoldering
one.
fire betting.
Number one.
Really?
Number one.
Because they're 23rd in the league now.
Which is weird because they're not that far out of a playoff spot, right? Like when you look at where they're at, they have 36 points. To get into the playoffs, it's a 2-win differential.
The Pacific is the Atlantic West.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, it's
the
like
Central
which
is
weak.
the Metro. That's how it works.
They are 8 points out of first place. Now that's a lot in the NHL.
Yeah, but that's a hot streak. You
Can
can make
I-
that up by New Year's.
Can I provide some reasons for their recent struggles?
Sure.
22 of 34 games, the Canucks allow the first goal.
Man, the Pacific's been bad for that. Calgary's even worse.
Really?
Yeah. They when the Leafs scored the first goal in the game against Calgary, I want to say Calgary leapfrogged the Leafs for most first period goals given or most first goals of the game given up.
This year, the Canucks were fourth. Their power play was fourth in the league. But in the last 4 games, they are 1 for 12. And they rank on the season 20th in even strength goals.
Oh.
Yeah. Or in the last 4 games, they rank 20th in even strength.
The scary
goals.
thing I
Thank
heard
you, the
with them
province.
is I want to say it was Friedman was talking about the Canucks, and it's great when you have a good excuse, but like they're healthy. They're healthy.
Right.
Their goalie's pretty good.
So let me read something out to you that was tweeted after the game. One of the top
Oh dear.
hashtag fire Benning tweets.
Oh dear.
It's from @Canadian Adam, who describes himself as a streamer,
you?
sports guy, movie reviewer. Not me.
Oh, okay.
Um,
You are not those things.
his name is @Adam_Pyde, Pyde. So close.
Piled?
Almost Pied.
Piled.
Not piled, Pied.
D in the-
Adam Pyle.
There's no L.
Is this your burner account? What the hell?
But he writes
It's not
this.
even stealth, Adam.
Adam's like, oh, this guy's so smart. This Adam Pyle.
Yeah. Kevin
I-
Durant.
If I were to give you a number, let me give you a number. okay?
Bevan Durant.
If I'm going to give you a number, what number would you associate with the forward line? Okay, so I'm going to give you an amount in millions of dollars, and you tell me what line it is on the Canucks.
Okay.
$6.5 million. Mm-hmm. What line is that on the Canucks?
The whole line is 6.5?
Yeah, that's what it costs.
That's their third line because the top line is like Pettersson and Horvat and
Pettersson's ELC though.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So their first line, like their first lines are all the young guys, and like I assume their third line is the one that's jacked up with a bunch of guys who aren't worth it.
I'm going to say it's their first line.
Jesse's right. It's the third line.
Okay. Good. One of us had
But
to be
don't
wrong.
worry. I'm going to give you now the figure of $10 million.
Oh God.
What line is
That's
that?
the first line.
That's the 1st line?
I'm going to go with the 4th line.
You're going to go 4th line?
Yeah.
Well, 'cause
Burn it down.
what do Horvat and Besser make? That's like, that's probably
nothing.
roughly 10 on their own. And then, no,
Oh,
because
look it
Besser
up.
just signed his
Just
extension, and then Pettersson's still on his ELC.
What is it?
I don't know.
Apparently, it's the 2nd line.
Oh, okay.
Give $13 million.
That's the 4th line.
A 4th line.
That's the 1st line.
Ah, damn it.
$20 million.
No! You went up!
I don't think that's it. I'm looking. 20 plus 6.5 plus 10 plus 13. 20 million plus 6.5 is 26.5 million. 36.5 million, and that brings it to plus 13 is
Oh, Adam,
For-
don't make me do this.
36
Don't
plus
make me-
13
What are
is
you trying to
49.
do?
Yeah, what
That
what
would
are
make
you
sense.
to
I'm
do?
trying to figure out if this actually works under the cap.
Oh, well, you don't have the defense in there.
Right.
It doesn't matter. So
Yes. No, I
we
just
don't
wanted
know.
to make sure that would still work. 6.5 million for the 3rd line. For the 2nd line, it's 10 million. For the 1st line, it's 13 million. For the 4th line in the press box, it's 20 million.
Oh!
Freak.
Well, because that's Erickson. There's 6.5 right there, or
Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
Lou Erickson, one of the worst deals in the
Jay
recent
Beagle?
memory.
Jay Beagle's 3.5. Antoine Roussel.
4, 3.5, 4, something like that.
Oh my God, man! That's been the problem with this team. And this
Put
is,
down the phone on July 1st. All they had to do.
This is why I defended them, because I was like, I think they have good players. The problem is they all pay them way too much for way too long. The caveat to what I was saying is they have to win this year.
Also, Brandon Sutter, 4.375.
Brandon Sutter. It feels like he's been there 36 years.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is that none of the deals that I mentioned that we just talked about expire this year or next.
Oh my God!
Like Tanner Pearson at $3.75 million is another deal that does not expire to the end of 2021.
Oof.
Tough. And that's the thing, is that they've got some incredible pieces.
And you're gonna-
amazing.
This is the main criticism is, okay, you have these guys. How are you going to pay Pettersson when the time comes? Pettersson's going to get a lot of money, man. I know people talk about, oh, well, people in other markets will actually take a discount. Look at what Mikko Rantanen got. I don't think Pettersson should be signing for anything less than that.
No, I don't think so either.
Do you?
To be
Like-
fair, when
To be
Pettersson will be an RFA, they only have one defenseman signed, and
That's bad too.
1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 forwards. So they're gonna have a ton of money come 2021 or 2021 offseason.
But also a ton of vacancies.
But also a whole roster to build by then.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And they got a potential, like, with Cale Makar out, Quinn Hughes has a real good shot at the Calder, and they're still this bad. Boy, that's and like most horrible teams, you can immediately point and go, their goaltending sucks. Their goaltending is average. It's not terrible.
Yep.
And they got guys coming up. Mikey DiPietro, he's probably still way too young. I think Thatcher Demko's
He's their
hurt.
backup right now.
Yeah, he is. Well, because Demko's out.
Yeah.
Adam Gaudette strikes me as a guy that might be better than he seems.
Got
Whatever
that
I-
on the
He's their 3rd line center. And I look at him, I don't know what it is. There's something about him that I like. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe
Does he
Canucks
make
fans will
7?
light me up. Yeah, Adam Gaudette? No, he does not make 7. He's a guy, he seems to be like found money. You know? Not a overly expensive guy, but has, what does he make? Yeah, he's a
7.
23-year-old. He's making $9.16.
Close enough.
You know, that's a guy. It's like for a 3rd line center to produce the way he has. He's playing between Pearson and Levo. I like him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
when
you
your
gotta,
third line center is putting up 15 points in 25 games, you can't complain.
Yeah,
right. But
yeah.
you got to fill
take
your
that.
roster with that instead of paying everyone $3 million.
Like, but I don't
3,
understand. Like
4,
they brought
5.
in Jay Beagle to be a $3 million, fourth line center.
They look like
Like,
the
oh, we
Leafs.
got the fourth line center position locked up. Like, so
It's
what?
crazy how Jim Benning is just giving everyone on the team contracts between $3 million and $6 million. It's just, hey, whatever's in there, just here you go, blank checks. You want
the
5?
Leafs, like, oh, we're gonna have elite bottom sixers.
Right.
Remember, like all that, and we're gonna give Colby Armstrong 3x3, and I always make fun of him for that because he scored 1 goal for every million the Leafs gave him. That's a lot of that was injuries. Oh yeah, no, I ripped him. He was making fun of my skating, and I was like, he was telling me how to get better. I'm like, that's the kind of advice that gets you 9 career Leaf goals.
Wow.
Did he punch you in the face?
He really should have. No, he loves me for some reason.
Oh, does he?
And I love him right back. He brought his dad yesterday, just hanging out in the background.
He's a pretty lovable guy, eh?
Yeah.
Colby? Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's
pretty
great.
awesome.
He's really funny too.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He likes, and he's always. He's the Mitch Marner of our office. He's just slamming Red Bull all the time. I'm like, you're in your mid-30s. Stop that. What are you doing?
He also looks like he's like 22.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a baby face.
He's not old.
No, he's not.
Right?
But
He retired young, so.
Yeah.
Man.
Helps. Except for his nose is old.
Speaking of young guys you wouldn't expect, when we were talking about the World Juniors with Marc Spector, one guy on that World Junior roster with Crosby and all them was Jeremy Colleton, the current head coach of the Chicago Blackhawks.
Wow, really?
He was on that roster with like Getzlaf and Colby, not Colby, and on Hockey Central. Anthony Stewart, yeah, and all those guys. And now he's still 34 and coaching the Blackhawks with all these guys he played with in the World Juniors.
It had to have been tough, actually, I think, to play on that team. It'd be interesting. I want to talk to Anthony Stewart about that. Because if you weren't a star, it's like you were on the bottom half of that team. Like, you know who else that team had? Clark MacArthur.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at some of the other names on that team and you go, Clark MacArthur. Clark MacArthur had a wicked career.
Yeah, he did.
Not Ryan Getzlaf. Not Corey Perry. He's
not Sidney
Dion
Crosby.
Phaneuf even. He's not Sidney Crosby. He's not Shea Weber. He's not. That team was murderous.
If Clark MacArthur hadn't been smashed in the head 80 times, he was good for 25 goals a year.
Easily. Who was their goalie?
Ooh, I don't know. I have no idea.
Justin Pogge.
Really?
Hell yeah.
Leafs prospect Justin Pogge.
Oh, wait, no.
No, he wasn't the goalie.
Pogge was after. You know who it was? No, who did he play for in the KHL? Can't remember. It was Jeff Glass.
Oh, Mr. Glass.
Mr. Glass.
Wow, that's crazy.
Glass
I remember
wall.
Jeff Glass. Wasn't he a Leafs prospect too or something?
No, he played for the Marlies for a while in a pinch because they had no goalies left.
I see.
And he was not great.
So here's the thing that I just want to get back to the Canucks for just a second.
Yes.
Oh, right.
I don't know how we got
you don't want to
back
talk about Jeff Glass?
No, I don't.
Why?
The Canucks are capped out without their first round pick and are in tough to make the playoffs. What do? Do you just stay the course? Do you think it'll course correct? Are they the October Canucks or are they the December Canucks? What are they?
I don't think they're as bad as they've been, and maybe they weren't as good as they were. They're probably somewhere in the middle. That's still not good enough.
It's not good enough not to have your first round pick.
Right. Yes, that is a good way of putting it. It is.
JT Miller's been really good too.
It's exactly, and they won that trade, except until they lose it because they missed the playoffs. If they have their first round pick, I don't think their performance so far is even noteworthy. Really, they're just another team sort of duking it out.
But that puts undue pressure on them, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the issue when you have all these guys making money is now you got to make money trades, but. Now you're calling teams and asking them for their player who makes a bunch of money, who they're willing to give up. You know what I mean? So you're looking for a player who's
underperforming his deal.
Yeah, and there's not a ton of those out there that are super appealing. Like with the Canucks, for example, they got rid of Eric Goodbranson, brought in Tanner Pearson. That's the sort of deal you're looking at. So unless you really nail it with one of these trades, like what could you even offer up that would make any sense for anybody? Okay, here's a deal that's making a bunch of money that could work out for you that his current team is soured on. Alex Galchenyuk. Do the Canucks take a look at Alex Galchenyuk? What do they offer up for him? Does he make a difference? That's a lot of questions,
but
man.
You kind of have to take that risk at this point if you're Jim Benning, because if you fail this season, it's pretty much done.
You have to take that risk, and you have to take it more than once.
Do you think he's done if he fails this season?
Like, he should be. I don't know if upper management in the Canucks organization would do it, but he should be.
He's been there a long time, and they haven't really done anything.
Especially if you go and you trade your first-round pick for JT Miller, or your first and a third, and Marek Mazinek for JT Miller.
Yeah. How many years has Benning been there? And have the Canucks won a playoff round?
I'm going to say 2014. But I'll look
No way. Has he been there that long?
I don't think they've won a playoff round. With Jim Benning. And I know that's going to sound rich coming from a Leaf fan. We're not happy with it. And also, it hasn't been the same guy the whole time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The Canucks introduced him as their general manager in May 23rd, 2014. That's correct. There you go. So let's check and see.
How many times have they made the playoffs? When was that series against the Flames? That was when I want to say my first year at Sportsnet, 14-15? And they lost?
Well, you've already been there that long, huh?
I know.
Jeez.
I know. I've been there since the Horacek year.
Wow.
It sucked.
Yeah, it did. It sure did.
Actually, I had flashbacks last night because the Preds scored 8 or more goals for the first time since the 9-2 game.
Wow.
They smoked the Islanders last night.
So the Canucks introduced Jim Benning off-season May 2014. That year, they go and they make the playoffs in 2015, and they lose in the first round to the Calgary Flames. The next year, they finish with where are the points? 75 points, don't make the playoffs. The following year, 69 points, don't make the playoffs. Not nice. Jinx. 73 points, do not make the playoffs. 81 points last season, do not make the playoffs. So that's Jim Benning's track record right now.
So if you're Jim Benning, you just keep beating the drum that, hey, we're improving, which, not a lie, but...
Sure.
No, man, you gave up our first. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. Well, he's, got Brock Besser in the draft. Actually, did he? Yeah, I think he did. You got Brock Besser in the draft, Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes. Okay, that's good.
You got Antoine Roussel back, but because he had a knee injury, I think.
I don't know.
You got him back.
Win.
You got to win.
It's not enough to have I look at the Leafs and I look at all these beautiful pieces. Win.
It's unfair.
I stop giving a shit if you don't win.
But it's unfair to have, not saying that they aren't here, but it's unfair to have them here because of the moves they made, because it's too early in what their arc should be to be in the must-win stage.
Right. I don't disagree with that.
They're not. I do agree with that, but they sure don't sign players like it.
No, well, that's what I kept saying, and this is the thing, man. Canucks fans are such an interesting bunch because you get brilliant Canucks fans.
Talk about them.
No, you can.
No,
you can.
I can't.
Okay,
you
can. You can. There are guys that are like, hey, listen, you were right on this point, but you weren't right on at that point. And then there's the
Canucks listeners,
and then there are
nice.
Canucks fans that are like, that go ballistic every time you mention them. You don't know what you're talking about. You never watched a game. Yes, I have.
Well, what about the Leafs? What about the Leafs? I'm talking about the Canucks.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought you wanted this.
So, but in Jim Benning's arc with the Canucks, Jim Benning has to start winning now. But where the Canucks should be, I don't agree with that. And hello, Pure Later, by the way, they're outside. Apparently they're high.
Are they in must make the playoffs mode?
Right.
Like if this year, if you go, what would that be? If you go 5 straight seasons without making the playoffs, how do you justify having a job? He's got to win. He's got to at least make the playoffs eventually.
And not just...
It's National Hockey League. Half the teams just luck into playoffs.
Well, and it goes to... I mean, I think they have the president with Trevor Linden, but GM, it comes down to ownership.
Mm-hmm.
You're spending my money. You need to make the playoffs. It's not for the lack of money that I've given you. You sign this guy, you sign this guy, you sign the...
Yeah, they're a capped out team. They've got $30,000 left on the cap.
Yeah. They spent it all.
They're not alone there. That's every team because the
but
NHL
they are a
screwed
cap
the
team.
entire
It's not like
league.
they're being held back by an internal cap, right?
But if I'm the Aquilinis, I go, okay, I've given you enough money to give me a winning team, and you haven't done it. Why isn't it 2011 again?
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't it 2012 again? Why aren't we winning back-to-back President's Trophies?
But you're about
This
to
is
come
bullshit.
up. You're about to come up on the 10-year anniversary of that. You would have thought that in that time you would have been a little bit better at this point.
You'd think. You know what's weird? I don't think Mike Gillis has done anything since getting fired. The guy who was in charge of all those teams.
Weird, isn't it?
He's just sort of
Chilling
gone
at home.
into the woods.
Yeah.
He's probably still taking his time figuring out what he wants to do next. Mike Gillis did everything the speed of a tortoise.
So slow.
Yeah.
So dry.
I think what I'm going to do is get tougher.
Yeah.
Real slow.
You know what's funny? He doesn't talk anything like that.
No, he doesn't.
No, it's just what he did.
The Canucks have missed the playoffs 5 of the last...
6 years, yeah.
4 of the last 5 years. 5 of the last 6. Yeah, you're right. Damn. 6, yeah. And if they miss it again...
Counting's hard.
5 straight.
Yeah, man. I don't get... And they're another team. I look at them. I look at the pieces. I'll stick to it. I look at the pieces, and I think they have what it takes to
they for sure
at least
do.
Make noise.
For sure. And it's not Travis Green. I think at a certain point, you got to recognize that you put your money in the wrong spots. You just did. And you can't... Now what they've done is they've painted themselves into a corner. The Jay Beagle contract in a vacuum.
Their top 6 is fine.
Yes, but here's what bothers me about talking to Canucks people about this in the moment, or what has bothered me in the last few years. And whatever.
You people to Canucks.
No, I didn't you people.
Oh yeah, you did.
All I said was at the time, the Antoine Roussel deal and the Jay Beagle deal are not deals that they needed to make, and not deals that they should have made. And people say, well, what's wrong with their contract?
Here's a little Michael Furlan for you there, Adam.
Yeah, well, and
Here's a little JT Miller there for you, Adam.
When you buy on the free agent market, you probably overpay, especially for a guy like Jay Beagle, who was just coming off a Stanley Cup. However, the Jay Beagle contract itself, yeah, he's overpaid, but maybe by $500,000 to $1 million, you can absorb that. But when you have, okay,
well, it's when you do that over and over and over and over.
Jay
again.
Beagle, Antoine Roussel, Brandon Sutter, Tanner Pearson, Tyler Myers, guys that they didn't.
They got.
You know what I mean? Like that's where it gets to be like, okay, now we're paying too much for a lot of people, and that's where they've painted themselves into a corner. So you look at the Canucks and go, well, the answer better be in that dressing room.
Their most exciting month is July.
Oh, but it's not. I can't imagine.
Right.
Like, are Canucks fans really jacked up about the Jay Beagle deal?
No,
I don't think so. They're like, oh, okay, well, I guess whatever. And people at the time said, well, they've got the room. They can do it. Yeah, sure. But what about when you don't have the room? It's the flexibility that you can find Jay Beagle anywhere. You could find Jay Beagle in the AHL right now.
You got to be able to
he might
fill
be a
your third and
penalty
fourth line
kill
with,
specialist.
Yeah.
Come on. And Jim Benning is supposed to be this draft god. And by the way, if Jim Benning goes on the market, I'm doing what I can to bring him into my scouting department because he's very good. There's no question.
He's gotten some really good finds.
Brilliant. Yeah, like great draft.
Keep him away from a mic.
Well, just keep him away from a phone on July 1st.
And that. Yeah.
Like I think that's the issue here. So what if the Canucks don't start winning? What do they do to change it?
I wonder if we're going to have an interesting few days. I wonder if this podcast is going to be out of date by the time it's released.
Well, doesn't freeze go into effect soon?
It's like tomorrow, I think. Yeah, it is tomorrow.
Yeah.
But like Taylor Hall just got traded. So if you want to make your moves,
yeah, I don't think so.
It's now or you got to wait.
I think they'll wait.
This damn show's going to be out of date.
Nah, I don't think anyone's going to make a move.
Which coach is getting fired?
Nobody.
It was Pete DeBoer last time.
They're saying, Elliot Friedman was saying actually in 31 Thoughts today that he thinks DeBoer can coach again this year. Like there's already teams kicking tires. Like,
I know where he's going to coach.
Where he's going to coach?
Tampa.
You think John Cooper's gone? I wanted to bring that up next.
John Cooper benched Nikita Kucherov.
Yo,
dude,
man.
if you bench Nikita Kucherov and they lose in overtime last night, he's fired today.
You think so?
Can I give two more Vancouver stats before we move on?
Sure.
Since their cup run this is the last playoff stat I'm going to throw out there. Since their cup run in 2011,
yep.
They have 3 total playoff wins.
What?
They got swept in the playoffs, and then they had 1 win, and then 2 wins, and then that's it. Since 2011, 3 total playoff wins.
That's right. They got the 1 against the Kings and 2 against the Flames.
Now, if you want to what about the Leafs stat, at least they won a playoff round this decade, which the Leafs did not do for the first time in their history.
Sure.
That's fair.
And that gives them a cup. That's how it works.
Stop
If you're better than the Leafs, you win the cup.
Have you won the Better Than the Leafs Cup? We should create a Better Than the Leafs Cup.
No, we'd need too many rings. No, we'd go broke.
No, I think
That's
that would be fun.
cup.
No, we'll just hand it to somebody new every day.
Oh, there you go.
So you win the Better Than the Leafs Cup. If you do better than the Leafs, if we make a relevant point about your team,
the Capitals,
and then you say, but the Leafs, and you go, whoa, he's right, give him the better than the Leafs Cup. That's all you have to do to win is just go, but the Leafs.
And we just reshoot the no words commercial where people are like just on the verge of tears next to the 7 foot tall Better Than the Leafs Cup. I want to see it.
Other thing. You can argue that Jim Benning has not missed on a first-round draft pick.
No, man. He's been great.
It's Quinn Hughes. I'm not counting last offseason because we don't know what this is going to turn out to.
The Russian guy. What's his name?
Yeah, Podkolzin or whatever.
Sure, that's what we're going with now.
Podkolzin.
Sure.
Podkolzin.
He's Italian now.
Quinn Hughes.
Great.
Pettersson.
Great.
Oli Ulevy. Brock Besser.
To be seen. Great.
Jake Virtanen. Bo Horvat.
Not the
No,
greatest
Bo
pick.
Horvat's not his. But Virtanen, Besser. Virtanen's the first year he was GM. Virtanen, Besser, Ulevy, Pettersson, Quinn Hughes. That's damn good first-round picks.
It is damn good. He didn't nail every one of them, but you're not going to.
I gave him that. I think he nailed it.
Yeah, Pettersson, Hughes alone makes that amazing. Add Besser to it. I forgive Virtanen, who is still a player.
Yeah.
He's just not like... I don't know.
Virtanen's a guy.
Did he
Yeah,
draft
he's a
Virtanen,
guy.
though?
What are you hating on?
Virtanen was one of the guys who I jumped up and down, was picked ahead of Nylander in Philly.
Okay.
And the other was Hayden Fleury.
So Kucherov. You mentioned a couple episodes ago that you could see in a world where Tampa moves on from Kucherov, and he ends up in Detroit.
I just threw that out there because now I'm trying to think of how Detroit can go about that, and I can't envision the scenario. But Kucherov makes $9.5 million. I think we're maybe a couple years away from seeing, I think, a bunch of big money guys moving. Because there are guys who probably deserve their contract when they got them.
Yeah.
But then they got to live up to that every single year. You know who I'd kill to have on my team?
Who?
Jeff Skinner.
Yes.
You know who I don't feel like paying $9.5 million to? Jeff Skinner. Kucherov won league MVP last year. I'd say that's pretty good.
Worth it at 9.5.
But you
At 122 points or whatever he had.
You got to be that every year. You got to be that, and he's very not. He's very not. I told you, did I not call this? You cannot lose the way the Tampa Bay Lightning lost and not have something break. I'm not writing them off. I'm not saying they're not going to make the playoffs. I am saying that if they're going to have any success, something's got to change in terms of personnel.
And you think John Cooper is the next guy to go?
Could be the coach, could be the players, could be both.
I think you should have fired John Cooper after you lose in the first round.
Really?
I don't think
After
you bring
winning
him
the
back.
President's Trophy, though.
I don't think you bring him back.
Whoa.
I think you go.
I mean, the Raptors did it with
I think you
Dwayne
go
Casey.
Dwayne Casey and you say this is unacceptable. We can't.
Yeah.
You're the
Yep.
best team in the league. You can't be losing the playoffs every year.
Coach of the year.
especially in the first round.
Dwayne Casey won the NBA equivalent of the Jack
He won
Adams.
it. He won it.
And after he'd been fired.
There's a lot of Raptors hockey comparisons that suck. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That is a good one. The
I think
bold thing
it's
to do would have been to
ridiculous.
fire John Cooper, who, by the way, is the longest tenured coach in the NHL right now.
I wonder if their general manager there, Brisebois, I wonder if, had it been Yzerman, I wonder if Yzerman would have done it. But I think maybe Brisebois was like, okay, I just got started here. I'm just sort of getting my... Now, he's been the assistant GM there forever, and I get it. I know. But it's different. You step into the leadership role. I'm sorry, it's different. It is.
Yeah. I'm getting nostalgic watching the Twitter feeds of Brad Crisco and Ryan Hanna with the Winged Wheeled podcast.
Oh, man, it's great.
I'm getting
It's
nostalgic because every good thing the Red Wings do is a win. It's a win in the standings to them.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they want the team to stink.
But it's hard.
It is hard. But, hey, Adam Ernie scored 2 goals. Wow.
And they almost won.
I miss being P.A. Parento's sick. It was just, it was a simpler time. It reminds me of childhood. You know what I mean? Red Wings will get back to it. And Yzerman will help them. But right now, he's got the easiest job, which is just let the team be bad. Any one of us can do it. Mm-hmm. I could manage the Red Wings right now. Just let them stink. Easy. Simple. Mm-hmm. Wave Eric Comrie. Why? Because who cares?
Doesn't matter.
I don't feel like
Doesn't
winning.
matter. I feel like they're going to be just fine over there.
Yeah.
In Tampa?
In Detroit.
Oh, in Detroit.
Yeah, they're going to be just fine.
Yeah, probably too.
Yeah, but so when you do have Kuch on the bench,
He played 2 shifts in the third and 0 in overtime, and that was after he gave up a terrible turn away to Duclair, who scored a goal in the second
And they
period.
won.
the last time
They
I
won
could
in
see
overtime,
something
yeah.
comparable was when Bruce Boudreau benched Ovechkin.
He called him a fat fuck.
Ovechkin did?
Well, yeah.
Sorry, what?
If you look, I mean, the mic doesn't pick it up, but if you read the lips,
Ovechkin calls Bruce Boudreau a fat fuck?
I think so. I don't know.
How does the benching work? Because I've played hockey, and I have to tell you, I was never at a level that was competitive enough that you were going to bench a guy. Like, there were guys that coaches got mad at, but it was never like, you're not playing the rest of the game. The only reason you wouldn't get played for the rest of the game is if you were, like, bullying another kid or something like that. And so I wondered, like, does a coach just passive-aggressively just not play you? Or do they say you're not playing?
They might just not call your name.
You just don't tap the guy on the shoulder.
Or they just go F you. Yeah, and just, they might not call your name or they might...
Because Kucherov scored in that game.
Yeah,
he's part of the reason
goal.
that they got in overtime.
Yeah, but that's, again, it's with the Matthews 11.6 thing. Scoring for Kucherov is baseline.
That's what we expect.
Don't give the puck away. You're literally the reigning MVP. What are you doing? What are you doing? We're dying right now. And it sends a message to the entire rest of the team. You bench a guy. And you know what's interesting in both scenarios is Cooper... bench Kucherov, his team wins the game. That game where Ovechkin lost his mind because he got benched because the Caps had the extra attacker out and he wasn't one of them. Caps tied that game with Ovechkin sitting on the bench.
And Bruce Boudreau ended up fired later that year.
It was 4-3 versus the Anaheim Ducks in 2011.
God, I missed Deadspin.
Deadspin had the article up in 2011. 4-3 versus Anaheim. There was a timeout called with 1:27 left in the third, and Bruce Boudreau didn't put Ovechkin out to be the sixth attacker, and Ovechkin called him a fat fuck.
According to lip reading.
According to the terrible lip reading on this SD video. Very much
honestly,
not high quality.
I have to tell you, I wonder how long they're going to keep not having Deadspin. I think they got to come up with something. They got to come up with something.
What are they going to do? Bring everybody back?
Why not?
And also give them freedom?
Yeah, I think a lot of those guys have new jobs now. Like, I think they've moved on.
That's what happens when you're dumb fucks with your business.
Yeah.
Maybe don't be dumb fucks with your business.
Makes me so sad. I want to hold out. I hold a little candle just to hope that maybe they will. Also in that game, Thomas Chabot, 37 minutes.
A round of applause.
And round of applause, but let me say this. I hate to be the guy that says this. Thomas Chabot was the one that gave it up to Anthony Cirelli in overtime when Cirelli went and scored. And if you're playing a guy for 37 minutes, what do you expect? I don't put that on Chabot.
Paul got walked.
He did,
though.
But I also think playing Thomas Chabot that much, 22 minutes is fine. 37 minutes? Are you out of your mind?
That's insane.
This is 33 at even strength.
That's outrageous. That is so not necessary. And I know that they were in that game, and I know DJ Smith's trying to, they're playing for something. They're playing for something. They're playing for something. That's ridiculous.
What's the ice time for all their defenders? Can you
in that game or the season?
That game.
That game.
Right.
You gotta give me a second.
Because we're talking about, as long as we're talking about guys getting benched, that's not a lot of ice for the other two left D to split between them. Holy shit, at even strength. Like Riley played, I want to say 32 minutes total one night. And we were like, what a hero. This guy played more than that even strength. That's disgusting. What do we got?
1 second.
He's working on it.
You gotta give me
Poor Hot Sam Bacho, man.
I just think I feel bad for him because at 37 minutes, who's not giving up the puck?
What'd you think of the goal? What'd you think of, because there was a little bit of controversy with how Cirelli scored it. He crashed into the net.
Yeah, but he scored it first.
He scored before he made contact with Hogberg, but what is Hogberg supposed to do? Because the options seem to be stop the puck and get injured, or stay safe and allow him to score. You're a goalie.
You're an NHL goalie.
Here we go.
At a certain point, I get it. You don't want to get injured. You're an NHL goalie. You signed up for this. If you signed up to be an NHL goalie and you don't think you're going to get run, come on.
Spoken like a forward with a big butt.
I'm just saying.
Adam is one of those.
Listen, I don't think he enjoys it. But what NHL goalie is going to give you any other answer other than it was my job to stop the puck? It was his job to stop the puck. He is the last line of defense. Sometimes that means taking contact, like the rest of the guys on your team.
Damn, boy.
Just saying.
Damn.
Do you want to take a look at the time on ice for
what we got?
The boys on the team? Let's run down the defensemen. Brandstrom, 18 minutes.
Okay, that's a lot. Golubov, 10:09.
10, not
we got
a lot.
Andreas Englund, who's definitely a person. 7 minutes and 27 seconds. Hot Sambacho, 37:50. Do you think he's pissed he didn't hit 38? Mark Borowiecki, 18:18. Ronald Hainsey played 26 minutes.
26 minutes.
Wait, is he Shabbat's partner?
Yeah, looks like it.
And so wait, Hainsey played the second most out of any D.
24 even strength. 24 minutes.
What's the difference in time? 11? 11 and a half minutes difference. Holy God. And also, DJ, you're going to kill that poor man.
Don't do that.
What are you doing? Forget Hot Sambacho. What are you doing to Ron Hainsey? That guy is 56 years old and a millennial who drives a Hummer. What are you doing? Oh, my God.
Little shout out to Gino Malkin, 400 goals.
Yeah. Wow. Give it up for Gio.
Yeah.
You realize how hard that is to do?
Oh.
And, I forgot how old he was. That guy was drafted before Crosby.
Yeah.
I always forget that. He was drafted in 2004.
Wasn't he drafted after Ovechkin? Wasn't he second pick too?
He was second. It was the first ever Russian 1-2.
Wow. That's cool.
That's a hell of a draft.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Not bad, eh?
Not bad at all.
And who went third? Who cares?
Doesn't matter. Probably Eric Branson.
Dangle.
I think it might have been Eric Stahl. No, he was before that.
Oh,
Mark Borowiecki.
No.
Yes. That's who it was.
2004
We
draft.
said it into a mic. It's true. Nope. Don't look it up.
No,
Ron
don't look
Hainsey.
it up.
Hang on.
Jeff Petrie. Dylan DeMello.
I want to know if you can actually guess this.
Do we get a clue?
Nope.
Yeah, you got to give us some clue.
Who was the team?
It was. Hang on.
So we had Pittsburgh
What year
first,
is it?
Washington second.
2004.
Or,
Jesse, I don't. No offense, but I don't know if you're gonna.
Hey!
I mean, feel free to take a swing.
Adam called you an idiot.
All right, Mister. I live in my basement.
All right.
Don't throw shots at me.
I do live in my basement, so at least it's not my parents' basement. But it is.
Go write a blog.
Chicago is the team.
I know the player.
Who is it?
Cam Barker.
Cam Barker. Wow.
Well done.
I have his rookie card.
Cam Barker.
He did great.
Did he?
No,
he didn't.
He did
Cam
not.
Barker. How many games did he play?
Ooh. It doesn't
Probably
say.
at least like 400 or 500.
Oh, really? That's not bad.
I think, yeah,
He's
he
only
had a
33 right
career.
now. He stopped playing. His last games were with the Canucks. He still plays in SM Liga.
Does he?
Yeah, he was in the Swiss League last year. KHL for 4 years before that. 5 years before that. He was playing for Astana.
Boris Astana. Oh, he was playing in the Eastern Conference in Kazakhstan.
And then Bratislava for 2 years. And then Astana again.
Boris Astana.
Boris Astana. And then Bratislava again. So he's only played for those two. Bratislava, Slovan.
Slovan. I don't
So he
think
played.
they're a team anymore.
He played 3 games for last season. No, he didn't. Did he play last? Yeah, last season was 18-19, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do that too.
Yeah. So he played a little bit of KHL, and then he played 3 games in the Swiss League, and now he's in Liga. 7 games so far.
Last NHL season was 2013. Played 14 games for the Canucks.
He's still going, eh? Good for him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's still
33.
making a good living.
Whatever.
Who is on his team this year? I want to know this. He's on Ilves Tempera. Oh boy, bunch of names I don't recognize. Yep, nope, this isn't as fun as I thought.
No,
Sorry.
there's no one who looks
Sorry.
It is amazing when you look at that 2004.
No.
Nope, not him.
When you look at that 2004 draft, it's like Ovechkin, Malkin,
Cam Barker.
Andrew Ladd, Blake Wheeler, Al Montoya.
Andrew Ladd's a guy.
Yeah, he's a guy. He was a guy.
Blake Wheeler drafted by who?
The Coyotes. How did they end up with Blake Wheeler and then not end up with him?
How
did he end up in Boston?
I want to say he walked. I think he might have been. He might not have signed, or no. They traded him.
But then you get into guys like Al Montoya, he was fine. Rostislav Olias.
Rusty Olash.
Andre Picard, Ladislav Schmid, Boris Valabik, Lori Tukonen, AJ Thelen.
That was the end of the era where you just drafted guys because they were big.
Yeah.
That was Valabik.
Drew Stafford, who played. Devin Dubnyk, who played. Radulov, good player. Petteri Nokalainen.
I remember him.
Marek Schwartz, Kyle Chipchura for the Canadians.
Yep.
That's a guy.
Korpikoski, Lori Korpikoski. Travis Zajac.
Jesus Lord, that draft.
Wojtek Wolski. I remember him.
Wojtek Wolski, come on.
Lucas Kaspar, Andre Meseros in Ottawa. Chris Chuko. This is when Calgary just blew their first-round picks out of the door.
Oh, Chuko.
Rob Schremp, and I remember he was pretty highly touted, but there was something up with him. I don't know what happened with him.
He was just guy who could do stuff and then chose not to, sort of thing.
Oh, it was an attitude thing?
He had the crazy shootout moves. I want to say he was part of those ridiculous London teams, sort of in the mid-2000s, but no, he never really put together the full game.
Corey Schneider was at 26, Jeff Schultz at 27, Mark Fistrick 28, Mike Green, good pick, 29 with the Caps, and Andy Rogers.
So think of how crap that first round
Terrible.
was that you just said.
Terrible.
The Caps came out of it with Ovechkin and Green.
That's really good. Yeah.
Not bad, eh?
Yeah, not bad at all. I'm looking at the second round here. I won't go through every name, but I'm just trying to find stars. Like Bolin was drafted, Bickle was drafted, David Booth, who had, one-time 40 goal scorer, David Booth, Carl Soderberg. But whoa. Not a good draft. Goligoski, 61, Krejci, that was a good pick.
We're at talk about random crap stage of the podcast.
Oh yeah, let's get to the press conference.
The Presser. SDP. The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
It's just great. Yeah, that is a wild draft.
We are running out of time. So, I will announce that next episode, we will do Bachelor bios.
Oh!
Bring that
Friday,
back.
right?
Yeah.
Also, special episode will be Friday this week
Instead of Sunday.
Because
we don't
And
want
then we are off till the 3rd or the 4th, something like that. We're off to that
5th,
weekend. 5th.
I think. Whatever
Yeah.
that Sunday is after New Year's.
Yeah, 5th.
Yeah, that's when we'll come back.
Yep.
But yeah, so we'll do that on Friday.
But we're going to have YouTube content still.
We are. We're getting a little, we're doing a little stuff this week. Then we're going to have releasing over the holidays, so look out for that.
Yeah, don't worry.
No
we're not fully
spoilers.
going away.
But yeah, we'll, if you follow us on YouTube, you'll, first of all, do that. If you haven't done that, do that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Do it!
And then you'll get some extra content over the holidays.
Do it!
All right, lovers. So line up your whatever you need for next episode, because those are our last questions of 2020 or 2019, that is, and it's the last questions of the decade. So if you have any decade-related questions, we would be interested.
Except
in hearing them.
no, it's not, because boring things. Yeah, have you
What?
seen that? The people who argue no, actually the decade goes till... Don't care.
What? What is
What?
the
So the
argument?
decade goes till the
Explain
first
it.
year of the decade?
Yeah, it's something like that.
The decade starts on 1?
Yeah, I don't know.
Nah,
Just
That's
whatever.
not true.
Shut up.
That's actually not wrong. That's actually not right. That's
Because
not true.
the years start on 0.
Yeah, it starts at 0.
It's 0 to 1. Or
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
0,
yeah.
1, 2, 3. Yeah. When you're in year 1, you're in the second year.
That's that. Instead of the call map,
Yeah.
it should be you explaining why the decade actually starts next year. Actually, isn't.
All right, anyway, we're going to let you go, but we'll see you on Friday. Last show of the decade. Screw you.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at AdamWYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Brought to you by Panago Pizza. Order at panago.com and stuff your face with deliciousness. Connection complete.